Welcome to Fanfiction Audiobook. Marvel, get super serum at the beginning. Chapter 61 Willow Branches on the Moon. Asgard, a magical place, does not refer to the various magics or gods here. The internal disputes within the entire Odin family almost prevented Asgard from exerting any of its so-called cosmic power. The entire Asgard has always revolved around Thor, Loki, and finally Hela. The internal strife of a king's family eventually destroyed the entire kingdom of Asgard. The younger brother wants to kill his elder brother, the younger brother protects his elder brother, the older sister wants to kill his father, the older brother and younger brother join forces to destroy everything. All in all, Asgard is comparable to the chaos of Zeus in Greek mythology, except without the family incest or whatever. A bloody family ethics drama. Odin took away Thor's power and exiled him to Earth. In Qin Xiao's view, this is exactly like a rich father freezing his credit card and throwing him in a small mountain village in order to let his son grow up and understand what real life is. Metamorphosis in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. When Qin Xiao took over the task, the role he had to play was like the director of the program team in Metamorphosis. It's just that Qin Xiao is not that soft-hearted, and Saul is not that selfish or unreasonable, he is just a little stupid. And before he had enough strength to protect himself, he entered Odin's sight. It's like a small business being targeted by a world-class company. Either rely on other people's resources to prosper, or be directly swallowed by the giant crocodile. Qin Xiao was familiar with all the plots in this world, so he thought twice and chose to accept it. Late at night, Qin Xiao sat quietly on a hillside watching the stars. You just have to think about whether you should follow the plot or think of some good way to effectively make that silly boy calm down first. Hi. I rarely see you so quiet. How are you? Are the stars beautiful today? The Black Widow didn't know when she appeared behind Qin Xiao, holding a bottle of wine and 2 glasses in her hands. If I had a choice, I would choose to keep staring at you instead of the stars. Qin Xiao said with a smile. You have a sweet mouth. I'll reward you with a glass of wine. Black Widow sat down with a smile, opened the wine bottle, poured 2 glasses of wine, and handed one to Qin Xiao. Honor the stars in the sky. Okay, here's to the stars. The two touched lightly. That guy woke up. He didn't run away or yell. He just sat there stupidly. Is he really the legendary god of thunder? That's right, it's guaranteed to be replaced if it's fake. Qin Xiao glanced at the Black Widow beside him. She was still wearing the same black tights that had remained unchanged for thousands of years, but her face was no longer serious and serious. There is just a rare calm, and there is a rare and endearing feeling than usual. Do you want to ask me next why I know this? Qin Xiao said with a smile. Oh? Will you tell the truth if I ask you? Black Widow picked up the glass again and took a sip. Then it depends on what identity you ask. Is it the famous Black Widow in the Secret Service world, or my friend Natasha? Qin Xiao asked noncommittally. As long as I can remember, I have been locked in a red house with a group of little girls. The only way to survive is to undergo shameful training and kill each other. Black Widow did not answer Qin Xiao's question directly. Instead, she faintly talked about her past. So since I was very young, I didn't trust the people around me. Gradually, I could see that those people had evil intentions towards me. Those people looked at me with smiles, but there were daggers hidden behind them. From the first time I got to know you, you started to be dishonest and rarely spoke the truth. But I can see from your eyes that you have no ill intentions towards me. So how you know that? I don't care at all, I know that I can trust you, both as a partner and as a friend. My previous experiences were very painful and I don't want to mention them myself, so I won't force you to tell your secrets. In fact, today, I just want to look at the stars with you and have a casual chat. Black Widow rested her head on Qin Xiao's shoulder as she spoke. In the first half of her life, she only trained to kill, target people and enemies. It wasn't until I met Hawkeye and joined S.H.I.E.L.D. that I felt like I had a partner I could trust by my side. But there has never been a person like Qin Xiao, who was a target at first, then a friend, a partner, but more importantly, a man. It allows oneself to put aside the task or everything else and simply face him from the perspective of a woman very intuitively. This feeling is very common for ordinary people, but for Black Widow, it is very special, and she cherishes this feeling. You look quite thin, but I didn't expect you have good shoulders. Do you like it? I can rely on you all my life, but only on this side. You know, I am such a charming man. There will always be others who fall in love with me, and I am the one who can't bear it. People who reject beautiful women always have to leave a little hope for others, right? Black Widow's answer made Qin Xiao extremely satisfied, and he opened his mouth and started talking dishonest nonsense again. There is nothing in heaven or on earth that he cannot talk about. Black Widow just leaned against him and listened quietly, listening to his serious nonsense. The faint smile on the corner of her mouth showed that she liked this feeling very much. Willow branches on the moon, women, cowhide, spirits. The two sat quietly for half the night, although there was no physical movement that everyone liked to see. But mentally, they both took a step closer to each other. This feeling is great and pleasurable. So early the next morning, Qin Xiao got up energetically. I waited early for Dr. Eric Shavig, Jane Foster's teacher, to come and take Thor back. In the movie, Thor fell from the sky and crashed into their car, and everyone else thought he was crazy. But Jane Foster fell in love at first sight with the silly boy Thor and chose to believe what he said. If nothing else happens, they should come here today and choose to pick up Thor. From early morning to noon, I didn't see anyone coming to pick up Thor, but I received a video call from Tony. Qin, I heard that you met a strange hammer in Mexico. Is it fun? If it's fun, I'll go over and have a look. By the way, look at me. Is there anything different about it? Tony deliberately zoomed out to reveal his upper body. Qin Xiao looked at it for a long time and finally discovered that the light inside the arc reactor on his chest turned into a blue triangle. There will be another chapter later. Chapter 62. The Poor Man with a Fortune of $3 billion. Sure enough, bad guys live forever. Congratulations on being blacklisted by God, Tony. But this is bad news for me. I have been thinking about the car in your garage for a long time. His little butterfly wings can make Tony's palladium poisoning disappear early, which seems good. However, I don't know if Rhodes can take a suit of armor from Tony and turn it into a war machine because of this change. You are an out-and-out bastard. Sharing happy things with you is a wrong decision. When will you come back? Are you waiting for the hammer to end? After chatting nonsense with Tony, Qin Xiao seemed to suddenly think of something, walked to a deserted place, and said to Tony mysteriously. I have something to ask you, Tony, and only you can help me. Your sneaky look reminds me of a thief. Do you have some kind of men's disease? I can't help you with that, man. After all, I'm healthy and strong. You'd better do that. Ask Banner, he seems to have taken medicine or something. When Tony saw Qin Xiao's mysterious look, he looked disgusted. Shut up, you damn pervert. I'm in very good health. My dick is healthy enough to smash your armor. Didn't I go to Mexico? You know, where did I get from those drug lords? I got a lot of money back and opened an account in a Swiss bank. I opened this at the homes of those drug lords. You know, there are many banks in Zurich. I want to ask which one is the safest. I want to transfer the money again. Qin Xiao looked at no one on the left and right, and whispered into the phone. That's it. Tony looked disappointed, thinking that Qin Xiao was going to tell some big secret. Watch your attitude, Tony, I'm a billionaire now, $3 billion, $3 billion, God, I don't even know what to buy, a mansion? A yacht? Do you have anything nice? Suggestion. Tony Stark on the screen said to Qin Xiao with an extremely disdainful and condescending look. I thought you had done something big? $3 billion are worth this? UBS, which is a major banking group merged by UBS and UBS Group AG, as long as the bank website you log on to these three-letter signs are all reliable, is there anything else? Although Tony didn't say it, Qin Xiao read the word poor ghost from his eyes. Tony, I admit that you are very rich, but $3 billion is not a small number anywhere. I think you should respect me a little. Do you know what the number $3 billion represents? Qin Xiao had permanently solved his financial problems in this world in one breath. He was carrying a huge sum of money, and when he was proud and complacent, how could he endure Tony's contemptuous eyes? I don't know, my friend, $3 billion, the amount of an order from Stark Industries and the Department of Defense, or a small fluctuation in the stock price. I don't know very well. You know, I don't care about banks. The amount in the figure. Fuck. Qin Xiao hung up the phone angrily. This is the highest state of Versailles. Billionaires are also hierarchical. Only if you are mentally ill will you raise money in front of Tony Stark. Sorry to bother you, are you okay? I'm not okay. Are you okay? Someone was talking next to him, and Qin Xiao subconsciously replied angrily. Turning around, I saw a sloppy old man. This is none other than the genius astrophysicist Eric Shavig. This guy has made a lot of appearances in the entire Avengers series. Thor 1 and 2, Avengers 1 and 2. In Avengers 1, he was controlled by Loki, developed a device, and used the huge energy of Stark bacteria to scientifically control the cube to open a stable portal. Let the Chitauri army enter New York in a steady stream. Qin Xiao's attitude shocked the old man, and he whispered a little scared. I have a friend, he has a bit of a brain. You know, he disappeared yesterday. I heard that he came here. I want to ask if he was arrested by you. If you are also one of theirs. Dr. Eric Shavig pointed to a sign above the greenhouse camp at the back. Strategic Homeland Defense Attack and Logistics Bureau. It's a bit of a mouthful, isn't it? I am. If the friend you mentioned shouts that he is the god of thunder, the son of Odin, the father of the gods, etc. every day, then that is him. That's right. Eric Shavig hurriedly nodded in agreement. He couldn't resist Jane Foster's request, so he came to ask for someone, otherwise he would be willing to deal with the mysterious intelligence department. Well, your friend looks very ill. Don't forget to take him to the doctor when you get back. Who is that? Qin Xiao reached out and called a guard. Go and notify Chief Coulson and tell him that the lunatic's friend came to ask for someone yesterday. He will understand what I mean. After pulling Eric Shavig to wait for a while, Qin Xiao lost interest after chatting for a few words. These talented scientists are often very dull and will take a long time to react to anything unless you are talking about their major. It's really rare to find someone as extremely talented as Tony Stark who is also so interesting as a person. Not long after, Coulson escorted Thor out with 2 guards. Since this kid didn't lift the hammer last night, he seemed to have lost his soul. He didn't speak and was just stupid. Saul, are you okay? Jane asked me to take you home. I don't know if it was because of the familiar voice of Dr. Eric Shavig or because I heard the name Jane. Anyway, Thor raised his head, with a hint of color in his eyes. Dr. Shavig, are you here to take me away? That's right, Jane is still waiting for you outside, I'll take you back. With Qin Xiao's reminder, Coulson let them go without asking Dr. Eric Shavig to produce any credentials. It was a waste of time to find someone to make a fake ID overnight. But after Dr. Eric Shavig left with Thor, Coulson asked an agent to follow him quietly. 4 chapters are complete, and the next plot will jump back and forth between Thor and Iron Man 2. I'm wondering if Qin Xiao and Tony should go to Asgard to cause trouble. Chapter 63 Deceiving the God of Thunder. Let Coulson send someone to follow, and then take away the research materials of Eric Shavig, Jane Foster, and others. This is a little compensation for Qin Xiao's arrival, allowing Eric Shavig to enter the site of S.H.I.E.L.D. to study the Cosmic Cube, and smoothly lead to the story of Avengers 1. You know, for Qin Xiao, in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the system is the key to his own strength growth. And being familiar with most of the plots is his biggest golden finger. When he crossed over, the third phase of the Marvel Cinematic Universe came to an end. The fourth phase has not yet started. He only learned from the trailers of some upcoming movies and TV series that the fourth phase may completely open up the parallel multiverse. This also indicates that the combat effectiveness of superheroes or villains will be taken to a higher level. So Qin Xiao can change some things, but he will not touch some things in the main line. If possible, he will maintain it a little, so as not to provoke some hidden old monsters that he doesn't know yet, such as the Eternals who have been saying that they will start filming before crossing over. The Space-Time Mutation Administration in Loki, etc. Of course, Qin Xiao, who is so old, joins this world, and is still in the superhero core of Tony and Black Widow in the previous stages. It is impossible not to bring changes. We can only try to maintain it, control it within a range that can be seen in the future, and then use the system to grow up as soon as possible. Of course, some changes in details are still acceptable, such as intervening in the path of Thor's transformation. When Qin Xiao came to the door, Jane Foster was eating in a restaurant with Thor. I don't know how Jane Foster comforted him. Anyway, he was still a dead fish when he left, but now he looks alive again. While eating, he was still flirting with Jane Foster from time to time, which made Qin Xiao angry. I have been in this world for so long, and I slowly started to flirt with Black Widow. You little bastard has only been on Earth for a few days, and there are beautiful women coming to the door to flirt with you. You are also provided with food and accommodation. Do fools have luck? Are you angry? This is the treatment of the protagonist. Look at how well they are doing. Even if I have a system, I am not as good as them. But think about the tragic fate of Thor in the later period. His whole family died, Asgard was destroyed, and even his girlfriend Jane kicked him. He turned into a dead fat otaku. The more happiness you enjoy in the early stage, the more suffering you will suffer in the future. Thinking of this, Qin Xiao's mood improved a lot. He adjusted his mood and walked towards the two of them with a smile. Uninvited, he pulled out a chair and sat next to the two of them. Thor jumped up after seeing Qin Xiao. Protected Jane Foster tightly behind him. Pointed at Qin Xiao's nose and said loudly, "I know you. You insulted me and my hammer. You also knocked me unconscious yesterday. I am not your opponent now, but don't think about hurting my friends. Look, look. Who said Thor was stupid? This guy is definitely as smart as a monkey." It was true that Qin Xiao knocked him out yesterday, but he didn't lock him up or beat him up, and he let him go today. He obviously had no hostility towards him, so why did he put on such a show for Jane Foster to see? Sure enough, after Thor said this, Jane Foster's eyes were full of hearts. In her opinion, the people from the Strategy Security Bureau were the most despicable and shameless government agents. They released Thor and then followed him to take away all their equipment and research materials. They were simply robbers. And Thor was captured yesterday, but he could still stand up in front of her today, not afraid of these bad guys like robbers. He was simply full of boyfriend power. So Jane Foster, who was a bit of a heroine, took a big step and protected the stupid Thor behind her. She looked at Qin Xiao nervously and said, "You bunch of robbers, your people have taken away all our things, don't think about taking my friend away from me." Well, not only did I sit down and get treated as a bad guy, but before I even opened my mouth, I was fed a mouthful of dog food. Damn it, it's so annoying. Qin Xiao touched his nose a little embarrassedly and said depressedly, "Don't get excited, I'm not here to take anyone away, nor to rob you of your things. Look, I'm alone, there's no one else outside. Jane looked outside for a few times, and sure enough, Qin Xiao was the only one. His eyes relaxed a little, but he still said with full vigilance. Then why did you come to us? We have nothing to say to you, don't disturb us while we're eating, if you don't leave, I'll call the police. Can you sit down first? I'm just here to talk to him, sit down first, everyone is looking at us. I'll give you 5 minutes, leave quickly after you finish talking. Jane looked outside for a few more times, and then pulled Thor to sit down carefully. First of all, let me make it clear that I have no ill will towards you, otherwise I would not have let him leave today. Secondly, I am not from that security bureau, I am just a consultant, understand? So you don't have to be so nervous. Qin Xiao tried to eliminate some of the hostility between the two people. But you insulted my hammer yesterday and knocked me out. The god of thunder was like a child, never forgetting Qin Xiao's insult to the hammer. I knocked you out because you were too excited yesterday. Thor, I insulted your hammer because you were too nervous about him. You are the god of thunder, but you are not the god of hammers. Don't you have nothing without the hammer? Isn't it? Qin Xiao said to Sol familiarly. Mjolnir is my fighting partner and the source of my strength. Even if you tell me, you don't understand, you ordinary mortal. Remembering what to eat and not what to fight, the Asgardian arrogance started again in 3 or 2 sentences. So, this is why your father asked you to come to Earth. You have accomplished nothing after losing the hammer, and you still don't know how to respect the humans on Earth. Qin Xiao lazily snapped his fingers. Wait. Do you believe he is really the god of thunder from Asgard? Jane interrupted the two of them. Although she expressed her belief in Thor's statement, she was always dubious in her heart. However, she was a little surprised when she heard what Qin Xiao said. Thor's reaction was even greater. Do you know why my father exiled me to Earth? Qin Xiao was happy when he saw the fish took the bait. Of course I know. I not only know why you are here, I also know how to make you pick up the hammer again and gain the power of Thor. Chapter 64 A Business Card. Qin Xiao's pretense usually ends in failure, but this time, facing the stupid big guy Thor, Qin Xiao easily gained his trust. Especially when Qin Xiao said that when Thor was 8 years old, Loki turned into a snake, and then when Thor picked up the snake to play, he suddenly turned back and stabbed him. Except for their mother, Queen Frigga, even Odin didn't know about this. Qin Xiao had pretended to be a fortune teller many times since he entered Marvel time, and finally opened a successful business with Thor. By the way, he also took a small revenge for eating dog food just now. I also know that Loki found you last night and told you that Odin was dead. He lied to you. Your father was just asleep. He didn't want you to go back. You know, there is only one king. This sentence made Thor very excited. You know, the biggest blow to him was not that he couldn't lift Thor's hammer. But Loki came to tell him secretly yesterday that because of his recklessness, he killed their father. I know Heimdall ignores your call now, but as long as you learn how to be an ordinary person and complete your own experience, you will get back the lost power, and your friends, the 3 warriors, and your fiancée Sif, the goddess of land and harvest, will come to Earth to find you. What? You have a fiancé? Jane really looked deceived and asked Thor loudly. Although the two did not establish a relationship, they had been exchanging small sparks in their eyes since they met. An ambiguous atmosphere quietly grew in the tacit understanding between the two, but before it blossomed, Qin Xiao violently tore it open. In fact, Thor had never thought about this problem in his heart. For more than 1,000 years, he had always regarded Sif as a comrade in arms and brother. Before meeting Jane, he only knew that he would marry Sif when he ascended to the position of king, but he never had any idea about this matter. When Qin Xiao opened it up, his heart suddenly skipped a beat and he began to panic for no reason. Jane, listen to me. That was designated by my father when I was born. I have always treated her as my sister and never thought of marrying her. You don't need to explain to me. I am just an ordinary mortal. You are the god of thunder. Your future wife should be a goddess or something. This is in line with your identity. It is the goddess of land and harvest. Qin Xiao added a sentence in a mean way. Yes, the goddess of land and harvest, this should be your future wife. Also, thank you for your reminder. Jane said, picked up the water cup in front of him and splashed it directly on Qin Xiao's face. He turned away angrily. Shit! Why did you splash water on my face? Qin Xiao felt that he was really more wronged than Doi. I'm sorry, Jane definitely didn't mean it. She just... I mean I have to chase her back first, and then I will come back to you. I still have a lot of things that need your guidance. Thor stuttered to Qin Xiao, and it can be seen that this guy is really moved by Jane. It's okay, go ahead. Come find me after you've dealt with your own affairs. You know where I am, right? Qin Xiao wiped his face and helplessly put on a master's demeanor towards the thunder god. The big guy gave Qin Xiao an apologetic look again and hurriedly chased in the direction where Jian left. I'm so unlucky to meet you. But fortunately, one of the system's tasks was completed, and 500 points were credited. There was only 500 points short of opening the second-level mall, which was a little bit of comfort. After the big guy left, Qin Xiao muttered and got up to leave. Before he reached the door, the waiter of the restaurant reached out and stopped him. Sir! That table hasn't paid yet? Please pay the bill first. You broke one of our cups and need to compensate. Oh! These two damn bastards, why did I choose this time to find them? I don't know them, I won't pay, I just saw that they looked familiar and said a few words, I didn't order anything. Qin Xiao felt that he was at a loss and really didn't want to pay the bill. Sir, if you insist on doing this, then we will call the police. Okay. I'll swipe the card. I don't know how Thor will coax his girlfriend back. Anyway, by the afternoon of the next day, Qin Xiao didn't wait for the big guy to come to him. But he received an invitation letter from Tony. Tony was still very ceremonial, and the invitation letter was sent through the Stark Group. Invited Qin Xiao to attend the Stark Industrial Expo held in New York 3 days later. In this world, Stark Industries is definitely the leader of technology companies, and the Stark Expo is also one of the largest technology exhibitions in the world. The huge exhibition area brings together the latest products of major famous technology companies around the world, and it is held for a year. Stark Industries chose to hold the expo at this time to show the world the various inventions and new energy application methods of Stark Industries during this period. Even if they don't make weapons, they have strong strength to achieve great development in other fields. The expo lasts a year, so this opening is a big deal for Stark Industries. Tony actually sent invitations to everyone on the Avengers team. It's just that the other few are real agents and don't have much time to attend the opening ceremony. Dr. Banner still has a name with the military, so it's not convenient to show up casually for the time being. Qin Xiao was not particularly interested in the opening ceremony of the expo, but he thought of the long-legged and good-looking girls who danced with Tony at the opening ceremony in the movie. Qin Xiao felt a little itchy. However, my relationship with Black Widow has been progressing well recently, so it would be good to stay here just in case there is a chance to overthrow her. While Qin Xiao was hesitating, Coulson came in with a serious old face. What happened? Qin Xiao looked at his constipated look and said. A business card with your name written on it in Chinese. Coulson held a business card in his hand. Qin Xiao took it and looked at it. He saw an ordinary business card paper with the two characters Qin Xiao written on it in Chinese, dragons and phoenixes. Turning it over, I saw an address. 177A Bleecker Street. Qin Xiao felt that the address looked familiar and asked Coulson. Do you know where this place is? Maybe you should check this out first. Coulson turned on his phone and played a video. This is a picture of monitoring Thor's hammer. The place was originally empty except for the hammer. Suddenly, a golden and rotating energy ring appeared in the void above the hammer. As the energy ring stopped rotating, a portal framed by the energy ring appeared. A business card fluttered inside. Chapter 65 The Ancient One Supreme. S.H.I.E.L.D. must have sent someone to check on this weird situation. However, their inspection revealed that Blick 177A was just an ordinary antique store, selling some old furniture and antique clocks. The people inside were also clean and there was nothing out of place. Thinking about it, the Ancient One Supreme Mage, a Heavenly Father-level master, was very skilled in space magic. If she didn't want to show up, S.H.I.E.L.D. wouldn't be able to find any flaws in her investigation. Although the actor of the Ancient One is a female, the official Marvel data does not have a gender at all. Let's just think of her as a woman. As for where the Ancient One is from, just follow the comics and say that she is Chinese. That's all I remember. The ancient mage suddenly appeared and threw a business card with an address near Thor's hammer. Then this matter must have something to do with Thor or Asgard. As for what the relationship is, Qin Xiao has to go there in person to find out. It seems that I have to go to the opening ceremony of Stark Expo. Qin Xiao, who couldn't wait for the God of Thunder, had no choice but to take the initiative to come to the door again. What surprised him was that this stupid man had somehow reconciled with Jane. The two of them once again returned to the state where they looked at each other and sparks crackled in the air. He comforted this girl so quickly, and he certainly said a lot of sweet words. This is a scumbag. Qin Xiao felt indignant. But on the surface, he still comforted Thor with a few words, saying that he had to go out for something and asked him to wait here for his return. As for the Ancient One Master, no matter how Coulson reported to Nick Fury, Qin Xiao would go when he should go and say what he should say when he came back, and not say a word of what he shouldn't say. I flew all the way from New Mexico to New York, used Stark's car and driver, and sent me all the way to Bleecker 177A. This street is located in Manhattan, the busiest district in New York. He doesn't know how the three major temples operate. If the location can be changed, Qin Xiao would rather rent out the temple and find a cheaper place. Let's forget that in Avengers 3, Wang Dangtang, a mage, is so poor that he can't even eat. Standing at the door, he slandered the temple for occupying a busy street and it was a waste. After hesitating for a while, Qin Xiao Gang was about to reach out and knock on the door. There was a flash of golden light under his feet, and a portal appeared under his feet. In an instant, the soles of his feet were empty, and he fell down along the hula hoop. In a corresponding study room on the second floor of the temple, Qin Xiao fell out of a hula hoop. He fell straight onto a single sofa. 3 full bookshelves on 3 walls formed a small, square study room with no doors. 3 single sofas were arranged in the direction of the bookshelf. After Qin Xiao fell down, there was an empty sofa on the right, and directly in front of him was Master Guyi, who was reading a book with his head lowered. Just now, it was Master Guyi's spell that allowed Qin Xiao to go directly from the door to the second floor. But after arriving, Master Guyi stopped talking and just lowered his head to read in silence. This is the advantage of having strength. You don't dare to speak up even though you are pretending to be cool. If it were an ordinary person, he would call me over and then lower his head to read a book without speaking. Qin Xiao turned his back on his back when he slapped him, and the book in his hand flew into the sky. However, the person in front of him was the Supreme Mage Ancient One, and Qin Xiao just complained in his heart and did not dare to take action. Of course, Qin Xiao has never been one to sit still. Seeing that Guyi kept staring at the book without even looking at himself, he took out a cigar from his pocket and started puffing on it in front of Guyi. If you don't say anything, I'll spray you in the face and see if you choke. Qin Xiao, who was full of bad taste in his heart, took a deep breath and pretended to inadvertently blow a large puff of smoke towards Master Guyi. It's just that the Supreme Mage is the Supreme Mage. Gu didn't even raise his head, but a golden hula hoop the size of an ashtray suddenly appeared in front of Qin Xiao's eyes. It stood less than half a meter in front of Qin Xiao's eyes. As soon as this small portal appeared, the smoke that Qin Xiao breathed out rushed towards the small portal. Qin Xiao took a closer look and saw that there was a snow-capped mountain opposite. Although he didn't know where it was definitely a high-altitude place. The weather was sunny and there was no wind. Due to the air pressure, there was no wind here in Qin Xiao. The smoke and the ashes on the cigarette end drifted towards the small hole. The effect is the same as driving at high speed and opening the window a little to smoke. In fact, if a small portal is really opened in a room at a high altitude, it is estimated that all the books on the bookshelf will have to fly through. But don't worry about these details. After all, Master Guyi always has a way, right? Awesome, an ashtray with built-in ventilation effect. The ashtray is nice. If I have one in my bedroom, not only will I not need an air circulation system, but I will also save a trash can. Qin Xiao had nothing to say. Facing Guyi at this stage was indeed a bit stressful, especially because he didn't know why she called him here. If you open one in your bedroom and there's a snowstorm, your house will be filled with snow within an hour. Are you sure you want to open one? I can help. Guyi looked up and said with a smile. I asked you to come all the way here. Don't you have nothing to say or anything to ask me? Guyi finally closed the book and put it aside. Yes, of course I have questions to ask. Since I'm already at the door and you used the portal to pull me up directly, why don't you just pick me up from New Mexico? Air tickets are very expensive. Now that Guyi had spoken at the beginning, Qin Xiao threw the cigar towards the ashtray and asked a question that was definitely not the point. First of all, I don't need to spend money on the air tickets. Secondly, if I go down and open the door for you, or open a teleportation gate to open the door for you, the energy consumption for such a small distance is about the same as teleporting you up. Guyi waved his hand to close the small portal, and then answered Qin Xiao's question seriously. I couldn't refute what I said. I didn't expect that Guyi would be so serious about settling the accounts for himself. Qin Xiao had no choice but to follow her wishes and ask. I wonder why you came to see me. Probably asking Guyi the question he needed, she looked at Qin Xiao and said seriously. Odin and I are considered friends. He exiled his son to the earth while he fell into a deep sleep. Of course I had to pay attention, but I was surprised because a person who shouldn't have appeared. You shouldn't have appeared here. That place. So I'm curious, why are you appearing where you shouldn't be and why haven't you been arrested by the Time Difference and Variation Administration? Chapter 66 The Terrifying Supreme Mage. Qin Xiao couldn't answer either of the two questions asked by Guyi. I can only pretend to be stupid and say blankly, I'm sorry, I don't understand what you said. Inside, I was calling the system like crazy. System, shouldn't there be no problem with my identity after traveling through time? Why did Ancient One say I shouldn't show up? Find a way quickly. The system didn't pay any attention to Qin Xiao's question, but kept talking to itself in its mind. Congratulations to the host. I came into contact with the Ancient One Supreme Mage and left a deep impression on her. I will be rewarded with 500 points. It is detected that the total points earned by the host have exceeded 5,000. After the system upgrade, the second level mall is opened. The system upgrade starts now. Then there is a countdown, 47 hours 59 minutes and 59 seconds. Hey! Hey! Qin Xiao shouted a few more times in his mind, but the system was still in a countdown state. Oh shit! Qin Xiao roared in his heart. After coming back to his senses and facing Master Guyi, he found that Guyi had bent down and stood in front of him at some point. A face so close to mine that if their eyelashes were just a little longer, they would directly touch each other. Ah! What are you doing? Qin Xiao was stunned for a moment, then screamed and shrank back. What's going on? What's going on? Guyi has lived for at least 1,000 years, so he doesn't have any bad thoughts about himself. Who were you talking to just now? I can feel your mental fluctuations, as if you were communicating with someone, but there are only two of us here. Weird. Guyi ignored Qin Xiao and asked alone. Qin Xiao's heart was filled with shock. She knew that the Ancient One Supreme Mage was powerful, but she didn't expect that she could feel it even when she was communicating with the system in her mind. I really don't understand what you said. If there's nothing else, I'll leave first. Now Guyi cannot be offended or defeated, and there is a possibility that she will see through his secret accidentally. Qin Xiao still felt like hurriedly applying oil to his solace. Even for a moment, he regretted taking on the mission of the God of Thunder. You must know that Odin is also a master at the level of a heavenly father. Who knows how many mysterious methods there are? If these people see that they don't belong to this world, who knows what they will do? With the enemy still unknown, Qin Xiao's choice was definitely the right one. But the difference in strength is too great, so it's not possible to just leave. Interesting, let me see for myself. Guyi was talking to himself, but as soon as he finished speaking, a pair of hands pressed directly on Qin Xiao's forehead like lightning. Qin Xiao felt stiff all over, and a feeling of being unable to move from a sleeping nightmare swept through his body. He knew where he was, knew that Guyi's palm was on his body, and had all 5 senses, but he couldn't move at all. Damn, they say that with the system, you are invincible. You won't fall here today. If you want to die, you will fight with the big villains like Purple Sweet Potato Spirit in the future and then die. It's too frustrating to die like this in the hands of Guyi. Surrendered. $3 billion haven't been spent yet, and Black Widow hasn't slept yet? Qin Xiao couldn't even move his eyes and could only complain crazily in his heart that it was not worth dying like this. Fortunately, Guyi just explored Qin Xiao's soul and mental fluctuations, and the feeling of being imprisoned went away as quickly as it came. Almost instantly, Qin Xiao regained his freedom and collapsed on the sofa. The feeling of not being able to control himself was not very wonderful. Taking 2 deep breaths, since he couldn't fight and couldn't leave, Qin Xiao's unstinting energy came up. What the hell do you want to do? If you want to talk about something, come up and touch me and ask some questions that I don't understand. If you can't do that, let's have a fight. Qin Xiao was so excited that he spoke Chinese when he opened his mouth. I never thought that Guyi could speak more eloquently than him. Hey, you are neither arrogant nor short-tempered. You are mysterious and have so many secrets hidden in you. I will definitely uncover them and see clearly. You want to fight with me, are you sure? As soon as he talked about Chinese language, Guyi's whole temperament seemed to have changed, and he was no longer the same talkative person as before. Instead, he rolled up his sleeves very skillfully, shook his right hand slightly, and whipped out a golden energy whip. A mudra was formed on his left hand, and a circle of green energy loomed on his wrist. Fuck! Qin Xiao blurted out these 2 words. It had just been a while since he traveled to Marvel, but Captain America hadn't dug them out yet. It's okay for you Guyi to take action regardless of your status. The time gem is the first thing to do, so what's the matter with you? Although Qin Xiao had only seen the green energy ring on Guyi's left wrist a few times in movies. But I was extremely impressed. This is the time stone, one of the 6 infinity stones. No matter what Qin Xiao was thinking, Guyi heard Qin Xiao say F***ck and an enigmatic smile appeared on his face. He raised his left wrist and said, "You really know the time stone?" Qin Xiao secretly said that he had been fooled, but the infinite gems were too much of a threat to him now, and he was in a hurry just now. At this point, if you continue to pretend to be stupid and say that you don't know anything, you will treat everyone as a fool. In this case, Qin Xiao simply stiffened his neck. You know what's so great about the time stone? Do you think you are the only one who can see the future? Haven't you heard of the Book of Changes, Bagua, Hichu, and Luoshu? I calculated with my fingers that I knew it for 500 years and knew it for 500 years. Seeing Qin Xiao admit it frankly, and then start talking nonsense again. Master Guyi smiled slightly, removed the energy from his hands and said, "You're a tough talker. Don't worry. Since I couldn't detect anything wrong with you just now, I won't force you to say it. However, your appearance does violate the laws of the universe, and even..." Halfway through his words, Guyi suddenly stopped talking. "Even something, do you dare to finish the sentence?" Although Guyi withdrew the magic energy, Qin Xiao still slightly distanced himself from her and asked defensively. "If you don't reveal your secret, of course I will keep it a secret. Boy, do you want to cooperate with me?" "What cooperation?" Not sure what Guyi was thinking, Qin Xiao was always a little uneasy. "I can't tell you what we're going to do for the time being, but are you interested in learning magic from me?" Guyi sat back on the sofa and said with a smile. "Why should I learn some magic from you?" Qin Xiao was still standing behind the sofa. Of course he was interested in Guyi's magic. If nothing else, the portal was very convenient. Of course, Qin Xiao was wary of Guyi at this moment. He had no idea what Guyi was thinking, so how could he agree rashly? "Yet, why do you want to learn magic from me?" "That's a question." Ancient Yi touched his chin. Suddenly, both hands formed a mudra at the same time, and the pendant on the chest suddenly glowed with green light, and then slowly opened. An emerald green gem appeared on Guyi's right hand. Is this reason enough? Chapter 67 The Agreement with Guyi. Qin Xiao never expected that Master Guyi would directly throw the time stone. In Avengers Endgame, Doctor Strange relied on the time stone to see more than 10 million endings in the future. And in Avengers 4, when Dr. Banner came to Ancient One and said he wanted to see Doctor Strange, what Guyi said directly was that he came 5 years earlier, and he should still be undergoing surgery a few blocks away. It shows that the Ancient One can definitely see the future. If this is the case, she should be well aware that Doctor Strange is her successor and the next guardian of the Time Stone. Then why do you say that you want to put the Time Stone into your own hands in the future? There is also the so-called Time Variation Management Bureau, according to the trailer of Loki that Qin Xiao watched before traveling through time and what Guyi said at the beginning. They were supposed to be the ones catching anyone who disrupted what was supposed to happen in the original timeline. For example, Loki, who was destined to be taken to Asgard and imprisoned, actually ran away with the cosmic cube. Undoubtedly, he was also the one who destroyed the established timeline, so why didn't he come to catch him? Because of the system? If it's because of the system, then the Time Variation Management Bureau can be blocked. Why can't it block the Ancient Master? What did she see in the future? Why do I have to let myself go to Karmatage to learn magic with Doctor Strange? Qin Xiao, who originally felt like he had a god's perspective in the Marvel world, now feels that there are layers of fog in front of his eyes, waiting for him to peel it away bit by bit. I originally wanted to ask the system, but the system has been in a state of upgrade. If you don't upgrade sooner or later, why upgrade at this time? Ah! The more Qin Xiao thought about it, the more annoyed he became. He kicked away a huge trash can that was more than 1 meter high and almost 2 meters wide next to him. The trash can made of iron sheet was kicked up by Qin Xiao and the garbage inside was at least as high as 2 floors. There was a sparse rain of garbage from the sky. I don't want to, just do whatever the hell you want, slowly grow until the end, I'll see who can touch me. Clang! Qin Xiao's speech ended with the sound of the trash can hitting the ground, and he finally vented some of his frustrations. Don't think about things you can't figure out. Anyway, you have the system in hand and slowly wait for your strength to increase, then you have nothing to fear. Qin Xiao comforted himself in this way and was about to walk out of this deserted alley. Suddenly, he found a white man standing in front of him, holding a dagger in his hand and looking at him blankly. There were 2 twisted pieces of toilet paper on his head, and a napkin with obvious blood stains on it. The dagger still had several strands of spaghetti dipped in meat sauce hanging from it. Judging from where he was standing, he should have been hiding behind the big trash can just now, holding a sharp knife and preparing to rob him. He kicked the trash can away and was probably stunned. As thin as a bolt of lightning, he must be a drug addict. But looking at him standing still, Qin Xiao couldn't help but think of the guy who used the mantis fist in Shaolin football. The stance is exactly the same. Robbery. Qin Xiao took a step forward and asked. No, you misunderstood, I'm eating. The robber raised the noodle on his dagger with a dull look on his face and shook his head, causing the scarf to sway in the wind. Eating here? Yes, the air here is nice, isn't it? Nice hat. Do you have any cash on you? $50. Is it enough to take a taxi from here to Stark Industries? Enough. Bring it. Thank you. Qin Xiao took the banknote and patted the robber on the shoulder. Kaka. There was a slight sound, and it was obvious that Qin Xiao had cracked the person's shoulder blade with his palm. In the New York temple, Gu Yi looked like he had everything under control in front of Qin Xiao just now, and looked like a master who could not reveal his secrets. After Qin Xiao left, he sat on the sofa with a sad face. How could this happen? What happened? Ancient One sat on the sofa and muttered to himself. After a while, Gu Yi seemed to have made up his mind. He sat cross-legged on the sofa and made up and down seals with his hands. In the middle of his two palms, the time gem floated there, emitting faint green light. As the green light slowly spread, Gu Yi's body began to tremble violently. And the speed is getting faster and faster, and finally leaves behind a series of afterimages of himself in the air. At this moment, it seemed as if there were countless Ancient Ones overlapping each other. Countless heads of Ancient One appeared from different angles, some in pain, some solemn, and some joyful. The shaking speed is getting faster and faster, the frequency of green light spreading is getting faster and faster, and there are more and more phantoms on Gu Yi's body. When everything was about to reach a limit, all the tremors, phantoms, and green light suddenly shrank and then rose. Everything is calm again. Puff. Gu opened his mouth and spurted out a large mouthful of blood. His face was full of an expression of disbelief. Then there was a burst of ecstasy. Ha 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 ha. If Qin Xiao saw Gu Yi like this, he would definitely think that he was not the same person he just saw. With bloodshot eyes hanging from the corners of his mouth, he sat cross-legged on the sofa and smiled up at the sky, like a madman. But Qin Xiao couldn't see all this. After robbing an unlucky robber and getting $50 from his poor body, he took a taxi and went straight to the New York branch of Stark Industries. It was said to be a branch, but actually after Tony lit up the industrial building in Los Angeles with fireworks. In fact, more and more businesses are focusing on New York, which is, after all, an international financial center. Otherwise, this time the Stark Expo would not be held in this place. Instead, the branch faintly turned into the headquarters. Qin Xiao's taxi stopped in front of the building and he just got off the car. A car horn honked nearby. A very sexy dark red convertible Acura NSX sports car stopped next to Qin Xiao. Who else is Tony Stark? I remember that I generously lent you my company's business car and driver. Why did you come back by taxi? You know, I'm rarely that generous. Don't mention it. I thought it would take a long time to come out, so I asked the driver to leave first. I didn't expect it to be over soon. Qin Xiao shrugged his shoulders and said helplessly. It seems like you're not having a very pleasant day today. Get in the car and take you somewhere. I'll make sure your mood gets better right away. Tony patted the co-pilot next to him. Why don't you change a car? A convertible is too high profile, and I don't like the color of your car. It's dark red. It's too arrogant, Tony. This is not my style. Tony's car is a limited edition, and now even the rich can't buy it. Qin Xiao suddenly remembered the way Tony looked at him like a poor man last time, and felt a little sour. How about you promise me that if you go with me to do something, this car will be yours? I told you, it's rare for me to be generous. Qin Xiao's eyes lit up and he rushed Tony to the co-pilot. Tony. You know? When I was a kid, I heard my parents say that the specialty of my hometown is bayberry. Have you ever eaten bayberry? It's sour and sweet and very delicious. The ripe bayberry is the same color as this car. God, I like this color, this is the color of my hometown. Tony. Chapter 68, Secondary Mall. Facts have proved that there is a mountain higher than a mountain. Although Qin Xiao is thick-skinned now, his money bag is also strong enough. But someone like him who got rich suddenly can't compete with an old capitalist like Tony who has been around in capitalist countries for decades and has a legacy. After receiving Tony's car worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, he was dragged by Tony to cut the ribbon for a newly opened high-end luxury apartment building. He was surrounded by a group of scantily clad reception ladies, and Tony kept talking to him. Qin Xiao, who had just received a huge sum of money, could not save his face, so he bought 2 duplex apartments on the top floor of the house with a total of more than 1,000 square meters. It cost tens of millions of dollars. After signing and paying the money, Qin Xiao still asked Tony with a confused look on his face. Even if everyone spends more time in New York in the future, why should I buy 2 houses? No, no, no. My friend, you remembered it wrong. It's one set, and the other set is my name. Tony shook the index finger of his right hand proudly. Oh! My God, you must not have read the contract clearly when you signed it, right? How about becoming my neighbor, is it a surprise? My villa in New York is already very dilapidated. The foundation of the new Stark Tower has just begun. It will take at least 2 or 3 years to be completely built. You don't want me to live in a dilapidated villa in the past few years, right, my friend? Tony smiled like a weasel who had stolen an old hen. Tony, just now you dragged me to go with you to cut the ribbon. That apartment building must have been built by your friend, right? Ask me if I can get a refund. Qin Xiao turned his head numbly and said through gritted teeth. Unless there is a certificate from the relevant unit that there are quality problems, it will absolutely not be refunded. Believe me, that apartment building is a new industry under Stark Industries. I will not remember it wrong. Tony pulled Qin Xiao into the car and took the initiative to assume the responsibility of the driver. You mean, I spent the money of 2 houses to get one? Not only did I give you one as a gift, but I also bought a house built by your company, right? Relax, my friend, don't get excited, your hands are almost crushing the car door, my God. This is your car, Qin. Can I still return this car? Qin Xiao was a little on the verge of tears. No, Tony Stark, will never take back what I, Tony Stark, gave to my friends. Tony answered decisively. Tony. My language function has deteriorated a bit recently. Can you translate it for me? What the hell is a surprise? The house couldn't be moved into immediately, so Qin Xiao took Tony and spent several days in the most luxurious hotel in New York, staying in Tony's presidential suite. He locked himself in his suite for 2 days and carved Tony Stark's name dozens of times on the toilet. Finally, the moment comes when the system upgrade is completed. It is said to be a system upgrade, but in fact it is just the opening of a secondary mall. Secondary mall. Intermediate super serum. Obtain Asgard's primary divine body, unawakened divine power, and extend your lifespan to 5,000 years. 3,000 points. Intermediate fighting skills. The upgraded version of primary fighting is more reasonable in the use of skeletal and muscle strength throughout the body. The strength and speed of the same physical fitness are increased by at least 20% compared to the intermediate fighting skills. 800 points. Intermediate Weapon Mastery, the upgraded version of Elementary Weapon Mastery, which allows you to use most of the cold weapons more easily, and has initially reached the threshold of the integration of man and weapon. 800 points. D-level combat suit is an upgraded version of the E-level combat suit. In addition to having the left and right functions of the E-level combat suit, it also has an additional 30% kinetic energy elimination. 700 points. D-level cold weapon customization, an upgraded version of E-level weapons, which can barely break through high-end alloys, such as Iron Man's gold titanium alloy. But it can't be as sharp as cutting through iron. Weapon toughness and sturdiness increased. 700 points. Primary space storage equipment, the storage space is 10 cubic meters, and the shape can be defined at will, such as rings, bracelets, watches, necklaces, etc. P.S. It's okay to turn it into a diaper if you like, as long as you don't mind the contents of the space being flooded with urine. 1000 points. With the opening of the second-level mall, prices have been upgraded several times, and the points that were always rich in my hand suddenly became not enough. In the end, after careful consideration, Qin Xiao felt that he still needed to be strong in order to forge iron. Nothing is more important than your own strength. I gritted my teeth and bought the intermediate super serum first. All of a sudden, I only had a measly 500 points left, and I couldn't afford to buy anything in the second-level mall. System, why is this intermediate super serum the divine body of Asgard? It seems to have nothing to do with the word super serum. Qin Xiao asked a little doubtfully. Because the host has been fused with the Hulk's serum before, for the healthy growth of the host's strength, the intermediate serum that originally doubled the effect of the primary serum is of little significance to the host, so a slight upgrade requires more points than before. Just a little bit. As for the name, it's just a cloud, so the host please don't care about these details. The system sounded lifeless. Damn, what you said makes so much sense, I don't even know how to refute you. Qin Xiao really couldn't find fault with this. He completed the Hulk's random tasks by himself. If the intermediate serum only doubled the effect of the primary serum, it would really mean nothing to him who already had 30% of the Hulk's power. As for space storage equipment, etc., you can buy them later if you earn points. System, I still have a question about Master Guyi's abnormal performance that day, the so-called Space Variation Management Bureau, etc. Qin Xiao explained the doubts in his heart. First of all, this is not a problem. There are several problems here. Secondly, I am just an auxiliary host to gain strength in a more convenient and simple way. To put it bluntly, I am just a plug-in. Thinking about problems is something that the host does not have to do as an intelligent creature. My own biological brain is thinking, but I am asking for an auxiliary tool. If I know everything, why do I need you as a host? Host, you are thinking nonsense. Damn it. Being hit by an auxiliary tool and being speechless, Qin Xiao felt that his brain should be upgraded first. Since the system said that, Qin Xiao didn't ask any more. Anyway, he had already decided last time not to care about the mess and just stay safe and strong. However, Qin Xiao had a vague feeling in his heart that the things in the secondary mall this time, especially the divine body covered in the skin of the intermediate super serum. It must be related to Thor's mission this time. I'm afraid it is to pave the way for going to Asgard to obtain Odin's reward in the future. Chapter 69 Thor's New Job. I don't know if it's because I got used to drinking the Hulk serum last time, or if my body has been fully transformed. This time drink this so-called intermediate super serum. There was no obvious pain in the body. It was just a bit of pain all over my body for a few minutes. Compared with the pain last time, this time it was like being bitten by a mosquito. After drinking it, I feel that my body is more resilient than before, and my ability to resist blows should be much stronger. However, the changes in strength, speed, etc. are not big, and there is a certain increase that can be felt, but it is definitely not more than 10%. On the contrary, it was the inside of the body that felt an indescribable change. But since it is called a divine body, it must have its own unique features. I hope to get to Asgard in the future. This divine body can bring some unexpected benefits to oneself. Otherwise, with just an Asgard body that has not awakened its divine power, it is better to continue on the path of the Hulk. Of course, the premise is that if you don't consider increasing lifespan. Anyway, he has no god status and no divine power. Unlike Thor, the god of thunder, he can shoot lightning with his bare hands as soon as he wakes up. For the third level mall, you have to wait until the total points exceed 10,000 points before you can open it, which seems to be a long way off. But there is also good news, that is, after the next mall upgrade, some products will be released, and the host can purchase them and give them to others to use. The current products are only valid if used by Qin Xiao himself. This solves Qin Xiao's worries. If he really finds a few women in this world, the issue of lifespan still needs to be considered. He can't live for thousands of years. The people around him will die one after another, and only one will be left in the end. Silly guy, that's not interesting at all. Are you gay? Is it okay for someone to have a goddess fiancé? Got through the boring opening ceremony of Stark Expo. Qin Xiao is considering whether to find a stupid big man and torture him. A naughty child must be tortured to grow up quickly. Who knew that I would suddenly receive a call from Thor? Qin, I need your help, I want to find a job. The words that came up made Qin Xiao a little confused as to why he wanted to find a job as soon as he came up. Okay, work is fine, but tell me your reasons. Qin Xiao laid out his words carefully and asked in the tone of an elder. I have no way to regain Mjolnir's recognition for the time being. I can only follow Jane every day. But I am a man. I can't rely on her every day to survive. Do you understand what I mean? Thor said a little coyly. Did you eat too much and get disliked? Qin Xiao laughed and teased. No, Jane is very good to me. I do eat a lot. I mean, Jane never asked me to do anything, but I must learn to support myself. Didn't you tell me that you want to become the real god of thunder? Do you have to learn to be an ordinary person first? I'm learning how to be an ordinary person, work, make money, treat my girlfriend to dinner, give her small gifts and so on. Do you understand what I mean? Qin, you will help, right? What a good boy, you talk about a lot of truths at a leisurely pace, but the last sentence is the key point, is to treat your girlfriend to dinner and give her a small gift. Also, the heir to the throne of Asgard should always have some pride. In fact, it would be good to find him a job so that he can experience the life of an ordinary person. When he faces Odin in the future, he can take more credit. But if he really wants to be let go to work, if Loki still sends the destroyer down, innocent people will inevitably be hurt. Although Qin Xiao is not the Holy Mother, she cannot hurt other people's lives because of this. After much deliberation, it was better to go there by myself. Over in New Mexico, Black Widow was assigned other tasks by Nick Fury. Coulson is leading a group of scientists to study the hammer on the ground desperately. And it benefited from the research data of Jian and others. It is almost certain that the so-called Asgard and the Nine Realms are real. They are somewhere in the universe, connecting the nine worlds through some subtle connections between spaces. You know, the research results of Jian and others have scientific basis. It's definitely not just the legendary Norse mythology. This caused Coulson to think of the bet about his hair when he met Qin Xiao, and he was a little evasive. Qin Xiao didn't care, it was just a joke, and he came here to take the silly guy out to see something. This still requires a little help from Coulson, otherwise with the fake IDs that Jane and the others spent hundreds of dollars to make, any state patrol officer would be able to spot them. Originally, S.H.I.E.L.D. intended to control Thor and Jane in this small town. But when I think about the results of those research materials, if everything is true, then Thor is a time bomb. Who knows when he will cause some trouble? With Qin Xiao by his side, he felt safer. Although Qin Xiao is sometimes synonymous with trouble, his strength is still there. Now can you tell me what happened to Blick 177A? After talking about Thor, Coulson once again turned the topic back to the business card that suddenly appeared. After all, space portals, this technology is a bit scary. Assassination, stealing intelligence, no matter what the considerations are, S.H.I.E.L.D. wants to control or master them. Qin Xiao certainly understood what Coulson was thinking. I would like to advise you not to take any chances with them. This is an organization on Earth. They have a fighting power comparable to that of Odin, the father of the gods. This time it is mainly for stupid things. In fact, their leader, and Odin considered a friend. Coulson definitely couldn't feel at ease with Qin Xiao's ambiguous answer, so he said a little anxiously. That's space teleportation. Do you know what that means? I know you care about the safety of the world, but believe me, buddy, they have been protecting the world for much longer than you. By the time they last elected their leader, it was at least 1,000 years before the electric light was invented. After patting the stunned Coulson on the shoulder and asking him to digest it slowly, Qin Xiao went straight to Thor and the others. Your documents on Earth, passport, bank card, I have deposited $100,000 for you here, which should be enough for your expenses during your time on Earth. Qin Xiao handed Lei Shen a craft paper envelope. $100,000? Why should you give me money? Just give me a job. It is obvious that Thor has not been by Jane's side in vain in recent days. He has already gained a preliminary concept of money and a certain understanding of the common sense here. An old friend of your father's on Earth has entrusted me to take care of you, so there is no need to find a job. You are also a prince after all. Follow me and experience more of the joys, sorrows, and joys of those around you. If you insist on looking for a job, just be my personal bodyguard. This is your first month's salary. Chapter 70 The Spring Breeze on the Plain Once. With the words that Master Gu Yi mentioned casually, Qin Xiao now feels a little more confident when standing next to the God of Thunder. At least the tasks given by the system have become justifiable. Even if Odin is standing in front of Qin Xiao now, Qin Xiao can tell Odin that the Ancient One Supreme Mage said that he would take care of Thor on your behalf. It's much more natural than pretending to be a fortune teller. So Qin Xiao just told Jian and the others this time. Seoul has brought you a lot of trouble recently. As a thank you, I would like to invite you to go to Monaco to watch the Formula One race. The way he spoke seemed a bit like Thor being the guardian of the earth. Regarding the matter of the ancient master, Qin Xiao did not tell Thor in detail. He only talked about Odin's old friends on Earth. So in the face of Qin Xiao's sudden enthusiasm, Lei Shen could only explain to Jian this way. A good friend of the father of the gods, an ancient god on our planet? God? Zeus? Or some other god? Jane immediately took on the look of a scientist seeking knowledge and asked with interest. The appearance of the God of Thunder completely confirmed the value of her previous research, so recently she has been fascinated by some ancient myths and legends. It's just a human who knows some magic. The so-called gods are just intelligent civilizations with a higher evolutionary level. Apart from their power, the gods of Asgard are no different from the people on Earth in other aspects, even in terms of social openness. Not as good as us. Qin Xiao shrugged noncommittally. Then he turned to Thor. Thor, this is what Odin wants you to understand. Jane smiled and said nothing. She had no objection to being able to stay with Seoul. On the contrary, it was Daisy, another of Eric Shavig's students, who suddenly showed great enthusiasm. I've wanted to see the F1 World Series for a long time. Handsome man, do you want to cover the round-trip air tickets? After seeing Qin Xiao smile and nod, Daisy jumped on the spot and started cheering. You go ahead, I still have something to do. Dr. Eric Shavig suddenly spoke. Eric, come with us. Thanks to your care recently, I hope I can do something for you. Thor advised with sincerity. I just got a new job. Like Mr. Qin, I became a consultant for the Strategic Homeland Defense Attack and Logistics Bureau. They have a research project that they need me to join. I'm very interested. In the movie, Carlson confiscated the research results of Dr. Eric Shavig and Jane and others, and finally allowed Nick Fury to find Dr. Eric Shavig to join the development project of the Cosmic Cube. It seems that the appearance of Thor, coupled with the ancient organization Qin Xiao talked about, gave SHIELD a sense of crisis. Nick Fury began recruiting troops in advance to develop weapons using the Cosmic Cube. Congratulations! Jane and Daisy both came forward to hug Dr. Eric Shavig. This old man has a genius, but he just liked to study some ethereal things in the first half of his life, and no one recognized his research. Finally, he came to know the goods one by one, and they were all happy for him. I don't know if the money came too easily, or if I thought about it after being brutally stabbed by Tony. Qin Xiao, who has always been a bit stingy, directly chartered a special plane this time. Oh my god, I thought I was going to be sitting in my seat for over 10 hours, and I even prepared a neck pillow to help me rest on the plane, but... I mean, it's so cool. Qin Xiao chartered a large plane with 3 small bedrooms, a living room and small bar, and a small KTV. Daisy threw away the pillow hanging from her backpack as soon as she got on the plane. Jane was obviously much calmer, but she still showed excitement as she took Saul around. I want to take a selfie with every corner here, enough to brag about on social networking sites for half a year. Daisy raised her phone and clicked one for herself. Then he sat directly opposite Qin Xiao and said curiously, "To be honest, your wealth is beyond my imagination. Is it really what the newspaper said, that you and Tony Stark are?" Daisy stretched out her 2 index fingers and bent them a few times. "I mean, it's such a shame." "Well, I mean, it's a shame for both of you." After speaking, he glanced at Qin Xiao secretly. "It's a pity for you, he is older. First of all, I'm not a crook." Qin Xiao stretched out his hand and pried off Daisy's fingers. "Secondly, even if I were a crook, I wouldn't look for a bastard like Tony Stark. So do you have a girlfriend?" After hearing Qin Xiao say that his sexual orientation was normal, Daisy said straight to the point. These words were very explicit. Qin Xiao said that he was a little embarrassed. Logically speaking, Natasha and the two had not officially established a relationship, but if they didn't look like ordinary friends. Adhering to the principle of treating people sincerely, Qin Xiao spoke a shameless truth. "Girlfriend? Not yet tonight." "Hee hee." Daisy chuckled twice. "What I'm asking about is tonight." "All right." Qin Xiao thinks he should rent a smaller plane. In fact, 2 bedrooms are enough, right? Daisy had just graduated and had a straightforward and fun-loving personality. In fact, she had no plans to settle down at all. Qin Xiao is young and rich, has quite good looks, and has the aura of a superhero, making him a good romantic partner for Daisy. Just right for Qin Xiao's taste. "I just didn't expect that the first time I had sex in the Marvel world was on a plane. Is this considered a plane shock?" There was a dedicated chef on the plane. The 4 of them had a delicious meal and had a wild time at the KTV. Then Qin Xiao and silly big guy took the 2 girls into the bedroom. In the next 10 hours or so, he never came out again. Imagine the content in the ellipses by yourself, thank you. The Principality of Monaco is the smallest country in the world after the Vatican City. It is surrounded by France on 3 sides and only borders the Mediterranean Sea. The total area is only 1.98 square kilometers and the population is less than 40,000. Mainly relying on gambling and tourism, it is one of the richest countries in the world. Of course, wealth here definitely does not refer to the total economic volume. The most famous thing about Monaco, apart from the casinos and the various gossips about the royal family, is their Formula 1 track that runs through the stadium and city streets. The description here can correspond to reality. Those who are interested in their royal family gossip can search it on Baidu. Well, it's quite interesting. The world-class F1 Formula 1 competition is held here every year. Players from major teams, bosses of behind-the-scenes consortiums, etc. will flock to this small country, adding a great deal to the local tourism industry. This small country does not have its own airport, it is too small. Generally, if you want to go to Monaco, you will choose to land at the airport of Nice, the nearest city in France. Of course, Qin Xiao was no exception, but he didn't expect that he would meet someone he knew just after getting off the plane. Chapter 71 Justin Hammer's Invitation. Look who this is our superhero Qin Xiao. I'm so glad to see you, this plane is really nice. I'm Justin Hammer, maybe you've seen my photo on the cover of Time magazine recently, that's nothing compared to what you've done. Qin Xiao didn't expect to meet this guy, he's not a villain, not even a good guy, he's more like a clown in the movie, and he even deliberately imitated Tony Stark. Qin Xiao didn't expect that Justin Hammer would be so enthusiastic when he saw him. Not only did he come up to greet him, but at the end he even stretched out his hand to make a gesture of Qin Xiao holding a tang sword to cut open the Iron Overlord's leg armor. I have to say, your sword is really cool, by the way, compared to that guy Stark, I'm your loyal fan. Justin Hammer stretched out his right hand towards Qin Xiao. Qin Xiao stretched out his hand and shook hands with him. This is a contradictory guy, he has always regarded Tony as his opponent, and he also regards him as his idol. He has been imitating Tony's style of speaking and walking, especially after Tony recently announced that Stark Industries would no longer manufacture weapons. Justin Hammer's company was overwhelmed with orders from the Ministry of Defense. Not only did the company's stock price soar, but it also appeared on the cover of Time magazine several times in a row. This made him even more complacent, thinking that he had firmly surpassed Tony. Unfortunately, Tony's Iron Man armor was born. No matter how many orders the company had, in the hearts of outsiders, Tony was still the well-deserved number one. Looking at the man in front of him who was trying to act like Tony, Qin Xiao felt a little ridiculous. He was imitating others, and his jumping up and down and thinking he was humorous was completely different from Tony's inherent cynicism. Hello. Qin Xiao. Qin Xiao didn't plan to say anything more to this guy who looked extremely awkward, and was ready to leave with Daisy and others. Unexpectedly, Justin Hammer stepped in front of Qin Xiao and blocked his way. Wait a minute, I have something to talk to you about. Are you going to watch the car race? Me too. There's a helicopter waiting for me over there. I think we can go up and chat together. If you don't mind, are these two beautiful ladies and strong handsome guys your friends? Together. As the saying goes, if you don't take advantage of it, you're a bastard. Anyway, I have to find a way to get there. It's really a good idea to get on a helicopter. Qin Xiao nodded slightly, Justin Hammer cheered, and hurried to the front to lead the way. I don't like this guy. He speaks in a weird way, like a stage actor. Thor commented very straightforwardly. I don't like this guy either. I bet he has no good intentions when he comes to you. Daisy said, holding Qin Xiao's hand. The two of them made rapid progress on the plane. Daisy was quite satisfied with Qin Xiao, and Qin Xiao was also a long-awaited sweet dew, so the two decided to continue this dewy relationship until the end of this journey. It doesn't matter. We just happen to lack a means of transportation. That helicopter looks good. Compared to Tony Stark, Justin Hammer is more like a pure businessman. In terms of material, he is no worse than Tony, and it can be said that he is even better. The helicopter that came to pick him up was a modified Mi-26 developed by the former Soviet Union, with a length of more than 40 meters. It is simply the size of a small passenger plane, and the decoration inside is like a small nightclub, which is quite exaggerated. You know, our company is developing armor for single-soldier combat, just like Tony Stark's Iron Man, Biu Bia Biu. But ours is bigger and stronger. This is a project jointly developed with the Ministry of Defense. I believe that the finished product will appear soon. As soon as he got on the helicopter, Justin Hammer pulled Qin Xiao to find a sofa to sit down, and came up with a few words without beginning or end. But I heard that your project has been suspended after Tony played your experimental video in the Senate last time. Qin Xiao mercilessly exposed his scars. A few days ago, he was simply hit by Tony in the Senate. That was just for outsiders to see. In fact, we have been continuing and even signed a secret agreement. Justin Hammer looked proud. Then I wish you success. I just don't know what this has to do with me. Qin Xiao said bluntly without any politeness. To be honest, we have signed a contract with the Ministry of Defense. The order will definitely not be lost, but the people don't think so. They need our country to have a more powerful armor than Iron Man to protect their safety. The people need confidence, and you are their confidence. Me? Qin Xiao was a little puzzled. Yes, it was you. Tony was defeated by Obadiah's ironmonger. It was you who defeated the big guy. Everyone saw the video. Tony was sitting on the side in tatters. It was you who defeated him, wasn't it? At the Stark Expo, I will apply for a booth from Stark Industries to display our new armor. I hope you can attend and fight with our armor on the spot. It doesn't need to be serious, just act. Do you understand what I mean? Of course, Qin Xiao understood what he meant. This guy wanted Qin Xiao to lose to his armor in public, so that he could show to the whole world that he was more powerful than Tony Stark. This is not only what he meant, but there is also a bit of political flavor in it. You know, just a few days ago, Congress held a hearing specifically to ask Tony Stark to hand over his armor. No matter what the purpose is, the government hopes that the weapons in their hands are more powerful than Iron Man, even if it is only superficially powerful, just to make the people think it is powerful. Of course I understand. I will try my best to achieve some earth-shattering effects and then be defeated by your armor, right? Qin Xiao said with a smile. Bingo! Justin Hammer snapped his fingers. That's what I mean. Of course, we won't let your efforts go in vain. I will give you an endorsement fee based on the celebrity with the highest commercial value in the world, and you will also gain the friendship of some members who have considerable say in the parliament. Justin Hammer made his own terms. Qin Xiao originally wanted to tease this guy and then refused directly. Then he didn't know what he thought of, and said with a smirk on his lips. Of course there is no problem, but we have to have a good talk about the endorsement fee. You know, I have to lose it in front of the whole world. This is about the honor of my superhero, isn't it? How much is it worth? For Justin Hammer, nothing is more important than defeating Tony Stark. Unless he really develops a armor that can defeat Tony, no one except Qin Xiao is more suitable for this matter. One of them was willing to fight and the other was willing to suffer, and soon the most expensive endorsement fee in history was born on the helicopter. Chapter 72 The Whiplock appears. Monaco, Paris Hotel. One of the most luxurious hotels in Monaco. I don't know if it's the most luxurious, but this hotel is right. I took another look at Iron Man 2 and it's this hotel. For this competition, the Monaco royal family specially emptied the entire hotel to entertain the team owners who came to participate in the competition, or the rich and powerful people who came to watch the competition. Not only are there hotel rooms specially provided for them and their entourage, but there is also a high-rise bar with a view of most of the track as a viewing venue. When Tony Stark arrived, Qin Xiao was having a pleasant chat with Justin Hammer at the bar. Daisy and Jane, on the other hand, took the silly guy to enjoy all kinds of top-notch delicacies in a car by the window. Hey! Tony! You're finally here. We've been chatting about you for a long time. Justin Hammer is very good at seeing Tony in the crowd. Tony and Pepper Potts just came in and were spotted by him at a glance. Oh, how could I forget you, dear Miss Potts, congratulations on becoming the president of Stark Industries. Justin Hammer stepped forward, first gave Pepper a kiss, and then warmly hugged Tony Stark's shoulders. In comparison, Pepper gave Justin Hammer a polite smile and basic social etiquette. Tony just barely had the words "hate you" written directly on his face. He opened Justin Hammer's arm with a look of disgust, didn't even bother to look at him, and went directly to Qin Xiao and said, "I remember you told me that you have no interest in racing. Why are you here with this guy? I have to say that your taste in making friends has become worse and worse recently. Come here and have a chat." "Okay." Qin Xiao picked up the 2 glasses of wine that the waiter had just mixed from the bar, and walked towards an unoccupied place by the window. "Do we still have something to talk about?" Just as Tony was about to leave, Justin Hammer said behind him, "I will return Qin Xiao to you. You can sit here and have a drink by yourself first and look at the beauties around you." Tony patted Justin Hammer on the shoulder in a childish tone. After speaking, he walked straight towards Qin Xiao's table. "Okay, anyway, I made an appointment with a female reporter to interview me." Justin Hammer muttered weakly from behind. "As soon as I reached out to pick up the cocktail I wanted from the table, I missed it. Hey! That glass of wine is mine. Why are you walking with this guy? I hate this hateful clown. Seeing his face reminds me of the apple pie I dropped in the orangutan cage when I was a kid and was stepped on by the gorilla. Ha 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 ha." Qin Xiao made up the picture in his mind and laughed. "Damn, I swear I will never eat apple pie again. That guy wanted me to endorse their upcoming armor. I was defeated by his armor in front of everyone at your expo. $350 million, haha. He must hate you so much to pay such a big price." Tony has been dealing with people in the government for half his life, and he is very aware of the dirty things involved, the political significance of defrauding the people. "They want to defeat me, but they don't dare to come to me, and they can't build anything decent, so they want to use money to knock you down? Damn it! It sounds like your job is the same as that of a blonde girl in the red light district of the Netherlands. Will you agree to him? The contract hasn't been signed yet. When he sends it over, you can ask your company's legal counsel to help me find out. After completing the performance in the contract, does it count as a breach of contract if I accidentally crush a few armors?" Tony's eyes lit up. "I suddenly have many more fun ideas." The 2 of them got together and began to murmur for a while, and from time to time they would make some smiles that made people hear the inexplicable hair on their backs. In the movie, Iron Man began to give up on himself uninhibitedly due to the incident of palladium poisoning. A series of actions he performed later made people think that he was caused by palladium poisoning. For example, he gave Pepper the position of chairman of Stark Industries and personally drove a car in Monaco. Until the arrival of the butterfly Qin Xiao, Tony was able to upgrade the arc reactor in advance, eliminating the threat of palladium poisoning. But Tony Stark still concentrated on studying the new armor in the laboratory, and still handed over all the company's big and small matters to Pepper. This is a matter of character. If he managed the company with peace of mind, he wouldn't be Tony Stark. There are always surprises. For example, now. I'm leaving. It's my turn. The driver in our team hasn't won a championship in 5 years, and he hasn't even been in the top 3. I want to go down and let him see what racing is. By the way, don't tell Pepper before I change the racing driver." Tony stood up, glanced around guiltily to see if Pepper was looking at him, and quickly prepared to leave. "Tony! Be careful!" Qin Xiao showed a mysterious smile. Lei Shen was still eating and chatting with the 2 girls. Qin Xiao went over to say hello and said he would go out for a while. "We went straight from the fire escape to the roof of the hotel. He needs to find a place with a wide view and enjoy the good show that will happen soon." In the employee rest area of a certain team, Ivan Vank was sitting in a daze, biting a match. He has been preparing for today for nearly half a year. Not only did he successfully develop the arc reactor, but he also prepared for today's competition. just for the chance to get up close and personal with Tony Stark. He has studied Tony Stark's behavior for a long time, and there is basically nothing regular about it. Except for this game, he comes every year, and after the game, he comes down to take photos with his team. This is his chance. He wants to seek justice for his father who ended his life in Siberia, in the cold, in pain and unwillingness. Seek justice for the unfair treatment I have suffered over the past few decades. The Stark family's wealth and the title of Iron Man were all stolen from their father. Just as I was recalling the unwilling look in my father's eyes before he died, the screen on the TV suddenly changed, and it showed the Stark racing team directly from the track. It turned out that Tony Stark actually put on a racing suit and boarded the car. The picture shows Tony Stark sitting on a racing car waving, next to the racer who threw away his helmet in anger. You guys like to be in the limelight, then I will kill you directly on the racing track, Iron Man? Ha! Ivan Vanko looked at the high-spirited Tony on the TV. Somewhat unconvinced, he opened the collar of his jacket. Under the dim blue light of the reactor, Ivan Vank let out a burst of crazy laughter. Chapter 73, The villain wants to be cool, but that doesn't exist. Tony's willful behavior caught Pepper off guard, but made all the media present and the audience cheer. Even the reporter who was conducting a personal interview with Hammer ran directly to the TV and watched Tony Stark wave enthusiastically to the camera. And he was frantically thinking about what kind of exclusive interview he should have in a while. This is why wherever Tony Stark appears, it will definitely become the focus of the news. Justin Hammer's face looks uglier than after eating shit. I heard from Pepper that this female reporter once had a very in-depth communication with Tony Stark. He originally wanted to use all his charm to lure this female reporter with a pretty good figure into his bed, at least try to enjoy the fun of defeating Tony Stark on another battlefield. For this reason, he also specially ordered the people below to prepare some auxiliary drugs for himself. Who knows? He drank a large glass of wine on the table in one angry breath. Justin Hammer loosened his tie a little irritably. The next moment, a picture suddenly appeared on the TV and he could no longer take his eyes away. He was a rugged man who looked like he had the blood of a fighting nation. Wearing the outfit of a certain team maintenance worker, there was a sexy match in his mouth. It flipped out directly from the vehicle maintenance area inside the track. At this time, the race has begun, and the track is full of racing cars whizzing by. You must know that in F1 cars, the average driver's cornering speed is more than 300 km per hour. If a person suddenly appears on the track, sometimes you can't turn temporarily. If you hit him and die, 8 of your 9 lives will be crushed on the spot. As a result, this man of the fighting nation didn't even come out. He shook his hands and 2 whips appeared in his hands. Then he opened his orange work clothes. The micro-arc reactor emitting blue light on the chest began to output full power. Energy surged along the simple lines on his body towards the 2 metal whips in his hands. The thin work clothes he was wearing turned into ashes and scattered in the air in the wind. Violent energy surged from the whip in his hand, and just by dragging it gently on the ground, small ditches were drawn directly on the ground of the track. Oh my God, this was just for me. Justin Hammer couldn't help but stood up from the table. The arc reactor definitely solves most of the energy problems in the world. It is said that Elon Musk offered Tony Stark a huge share of his company's shares in exchange for the right to use this technology, and promised to only configure it on his own cars, but Tony Stark rejected it. In fact, Justin Hammer and the military's project is stuck at this stage. Even if all the weapon systems on the armor are uninstalled, the entire internal space of the armor is filled with the most advanced batteries. This kind of energy cannot allow the armor to rise even 1 meter in the air, let alone consume energy in continuous battles. Unfortunately, Tony Stark refused to hand over this technology even under heavy pressure from the Senate. But at this time, another micro-arc reactor that looked very mature appeared here. Look at the violent energy on the whip, it would have been installed on his company's armor. Justin Hammer looked at the arc reactor, especially the crude equipment and the rough face of Ivan Vank, who had obviously not lived a good life, and smiled particularly proudly. Unlike Justin Hammer, Qin Xiao looked down from the roof of the hotel and gritted his teeth with hatred. Walking struttingly on the track, even with so many racing cars roaring on the opposite side, there was no panic or confusion in his pace. There is actually a match in his mouth, brother Ma. Qin Xiao spat towards the rooftop angrily. His right hand couldn't help but touch the bridge of his nose and eyeballs. Last time I was being cool in Mexico, I was hit by a rocket launcher in just 3 seconds. Thinking about it now, I can still recall the pain in my eyeballs. Why are you, a villain, so arrogant? The more Qin Xiao thought about it, the angrier he became, and his eyes couldn't help but look around on the rooftop. The appearance of Ivan Vanko made the rich and powerful people in the bar of the Grand Hotel in Paris burst into exclamations. Especially when he used the whip in his hand to directly split a fast-moving F1 car in half, the whole place fell into chaos. At this time, Happy quickly got into the car and rushed towards the track with Tony Stark's newly developed Mark V suitcase suit, La Pepper. The reactor on this man's chest is similar to the one on Tony's body, and most likely it's for Tony Stark. After seeing this scene, Thor stood up directly. "Thor, what are you doing?" Jane asked loudly. "Didn't you just say that this person is going for Qin Xiao's friends?" "Qin Xiao has gone somewhere, and I'm going to help save his friends." After saying that, regardless of what Jane said behind him, he ran outside like a gust of wind. On the track at this moment, the car driven by Tony had already appeared in Ivan Vank's sight. Turning his body slightly to the side, he hit Tony's car hard with the whip. The violent energy was as indestructible as a laser sword, directly cutting off the head of the car. Tony flew up into the air in the half of the car, and turned several times before landing heavily on the ground. Then he watched Ivan Vanko shaking his 2 whips fiercely, walking towards Tony with murderous intent. The cars behind him saw the accident in front of them, and they collided with each other in an emergency dodge, exploding, overturning, and the wreckage of the car splashing in the air. They all passed by Ivan Vanko, but did not cause him any harm. He turned a blind eye to the explosions behind him, and just walked step by step towards Tony Stark, who had just climbed out of the car. Before entering the attack range, Ivan Vanko deliberately shook the whip and hit the ground twice, trying to put more psychological pressure on Tony Stark. Just when Ivan Vanko was about to whip an attack, a sharp sound of breaking wind sounded in the air. Ivan Vanko suddenly turned his head, and a black shadow came whistling. Bang! I couldn't even see anything clearly. Ivan Vanko only felt a blackness in front of his eyes, as if something moving at high speed broke directly on his face. His head was subjected to a huge impact force, driving his body directly into the air, and hit the wire mesh next to the track. His head tilted and he fainted. Oh! Yes! On the rooftop of the hotel not far away, Qin Xiao fiercely made a victory gesture. Chapter 74 Tony is helpless. The incident happened so suddenly that all the spectators had no idea what was happening. The audience didn't know what was going on, but Tony could see it clearly. Because Qin Xiao was standing on the rooftop at the moment, waving half of a PVC pipe cut off from an unknown vent to greet Tony. Unexpectedly, I worked so hard to make a portable armor, but in the end, I was saved by this guy. But whoever allowed himself to take off his armor would not have much fighting power at all. Tony sat beside the wreckage of the car with a helpless expression, breathing heavily. Bang! The ground around him shattered, and Qin Xiao jumped directly from the rooftop to Tony's side. Wow! The spectators on both sides of the track were excited. Many people present were CP fans of Qin Xiao and Tony. When they saw the two in the same frame again, they couldn't help but scream. Stand up quickly! There are many people shouting your name above. You won't be scared to wet your pants. By the way, I'm afraid I won't be able to throw it properly. I just removed a lot of PVC pipes on the rooftop. I will not lose this money. Qin Xiao stretched out his right hand towards Tony. Just as Tony was pulled up from the ground, a harsh brake sound sounded. Happy drove a car and brought Pepper to Tony's side. The two of them looked at Qin Xiao standing here, and then took a look at Tony, who looked fine, and they both breathed a sigh of relief. You'd better take this with you next time you take a shower, boss. Happy threw Mark 5 directly next to Tony. I will seriously consider it. You can't let this guy take the spotlight every time, can you? What a pity for my first racing career. Tony took the suitcase and looked in the direction where Ivan Vanko fainted. The appearance of another micro-arc reactor brought a lot of crisis to Tony, and he also felt incredible. He is very confident that his technology cannot be cracked, at least not in recent years. So he wanted to see the difference between that reactor and his own. It didn't matter at first glance. Ivan Vank stood up unsteadily from the ground at some point. A whip was struck directly, and the whip cut Happy's car in half. Perfectly separates the little Pepper in the back seat from the Happy in the front. Ah! Pepper let out an earth-shattering scream. Tony looked excited. It's finally my turn. You protect them and I'll deal with him. Next time you should find an iron pipe and break it off. Qin Xiao curled his lips. He was a little anxious just now. He couldn't find anything suitable for a long time. It's not easy to recognize PVC from such a distance by pinching it. Who knew that guy could stagger to his feet so quickly after being knocked unconscious? What? This is the Constitution. After Tony explained, he directly put Mark 5 on the ground, stepped on it with his foot in the right position, and held the armrests with both hands and pulled it. The main body of the armor has been put on the body, and other parts have begun to extend, automatically finding the right position to cover Tony's whole body. After completing the transformation in a cool way, Happy and Xiao Qiao got out of the car and were guarded by Qin Xiao. The white light in Tony's mask flashed, and the armor was fully activated. He stretched out a foot and kicked half of the car blocking the road away. In fact, Ivan Vank is no longer a threat at this moment. He stood up just now and it was definitely a subconscious attack. In fact, he was extremely dizzy now, his eyes were a bit out of focus, and he was teetering on the spot to keep his balance. Tony was about to activate the laser cannon to hit the enemy hard. Suddenly a person jumped up from the barbed wire behind Ivan Vank. There was also a brick in his hand that he dug out from somewhere. He jumped up, plucked the barbed wire fence with one hand, and kicked off the barbed wire fence with both legs. He jumped directly over the 2-meter-high barbed wire fence and fell toward the ground while waving his right hand. The brick neatly hit Ivan Vank's head. The person who came was very strong, coupled with the gravity of falling from a height of more than 2 meters. The brick smashed on Ivan Vank's head. Ivan Vank, who was already swaying, suddenly fell to the ground. I didn't know you were already here. You've been running for a long time, but finally your journey was not in vain. To defeat the enemy, you must make sure that he has no resistance at all, otherwise you will suffer a loss. Hello, Tin Man, I am Qin Xiao's friend, Thor, the god of thunder. You don't have to thank me. It was Thor who came down from the beginning and was ready to help. After defeating Ivan Vanko, he gave a sermon and introduced himself. The laser cannon in Tony's raised right hand suddenly dimmed. I didn't want to thank you, I was just thinking about why I put on the armor. Tony looked up at the sky and said faintly. When the police arrived, Ivan Vank was still unconscious, and the arc reaction in his chest had been crushed to pieces by Tony's hand. The race has come to a complete halt and a large number of reporters are swarming the track. They all pointed their cameras at Qin Xiao and Tony. I'm very happy to see two people appear together again and defeat a criminal who uses high-tech weapons. I wonder if I can ask you two to show off your scissor hands again and let me take a real classic photo as the cover of our magazine tomorrow. Woolen cloth. The reporter who ran the fastest opened his mouth and made his request before he could reach the two of them. This female reporter is a fan of both of them. The last headline photo was actually taken separately and then combined together. This time, a photo of the two of them together will be taken. Not to mention the sales volume of the magazine, I feel very excited just thinking about it. The excited reporter didn't notice the expressions of the two parties at all. She was so excited that she took out a small camera she carried with her. In addition to the photos taken by the staff, she also wanted to take a photo of herself as a treasure. Without asking Qin Xiao and Tony if they agreed, he took out his camera and started counting down to the two of them. Scissor hands, thank you. Come on, 1, 2, 3. Cheese. What she responded to was two middle fingers pointed straight up in the camera, and both of them called her a bitch in unison. Chapter 75 Palladium Poisoning. Ivan Vanko is still lying in the hospital, and he probably won't wake up in a few days. The game has come to an end, and the two of them were so annoyed by reporters that they couldn't care less about shocking the world. One flew directly into the sky, and the other jumped directly from the ground to the rooftop of a nearby building. After a few big jumps back and forth, he disappeared from everyone's sight, completely ignoring how many rooftop floors he trampled. That night, on a yacht off the coast of Monaco, Pepper took over Stark Industries, and the mess Tony left behind made Pepper become a spinning top, spinning around the world. So as soon as today's time was over, Pepper flew away with Happy, who had become his personal bodyguard and driver. Tony was left with a depressed look on his face. Of course, the main reason for Tony's depression was the two couples sitting in front of him. Although Jane and Thor are in a real and normal relationship, Tony still labels them as a couple in his heart. Qin, you should have told me earlier that you would be bringing a female companion with you today. If you had known earlier, I would have invited some cute girls to play with you. Tony looked at Daisy sitting next to Qin Xiao with a sad look on his face. It was okay at first. Qin Xiao introduced him to the origins of several people. From Asgard to Jane's research on astrophysics, the few people chatted quite happily. Later, when the conversation was almost over and everyone was getting acquainted with each other and started to relax, Tony became a little sour when the two couples occasionally made some intimate gestures. It's your own problem. In the past, when you called girls, you didn't care whether they brought a female companion or not. Speaking of which, there really aren't many girls around you these days. Qin Xiao frowned and thought about it seriously. It seemed that it was almost after the Iron Overlord incident. You don't really fall in love with me, do you? God, please send down a bolt of lightning to kill this wretched bastard. I'm still a kid who just graduated, and this bastard is going to be 40 years old soon. Qin Xiao looked at Tony with disgust. Shit. My sexual orientation has always been normal. I've been too busy lately, modifying the reactor, my armor, and joining that fancy dress club with you. There was a rare trace of panic on Tony's face. Of course Qin Xiao knew that Tony would not really like him, but Tony's performance still made him very interested. There's something wrong with you, Tony. Qin Xiao raised his wine glass, took a deep sip, smacked his lips and said, Come, tell me, what happened? Is there something unspeakable? Crazy. I don't know how good my health is, but, about Pepper, you know, the two of us. It was rare for Tony to talk about his feelings for Pepper. Although we haven't officially established a relationship, we have always been like that. Of course I also want to be together directly, but we both have a lot of things going on recently. Tony was a little helpless, and more importantly, a little scared. He grabbed a lot of women outside, and he didn't even have to stretch out his hands. Some of them squeezed in on their own. But when I really meet someone I like, I don't know how to speak. Even though he knew that Pepper was interested in him, he just didn't know how to speak. Qin Xiao tilted his head and thought for a while. It seemed like this was the case in the movie. In Iron Man 1, Tony almost kissed Pepper once, but after being interrupted, a female reporter asked him about selling weapons to terrorists. He went directly to question Obadiah. Later, I finally wanted to express my feelings before the press conference, but I still didn't say anything. Finally, after saving Pepper in the final critical moment of Iron Man 2, the two couldn't help but hug each other on the rooftop, and their relationship was truly confirmed. One is cynical in appearance but insecure and dare not express his true love when he meets her. The other is seeing a beautiful woman beside Tony for a long time. I can't even count how many mornings I arranged a car to send away the girls from Tony's family. They felt a little insecure about Tony, so neither of them took the initiative to take a step forward. Outsiders can't help at this point, and Tony is destined to be alone and sad tonight. Ivan Vanko spent 3 days in a coma in Monaco. Not long after waking up, Qin Xiao and Tony came to the hospital together. I saw the earliest design drawing, and the name Anton Vank was on it. Is he your father? Ivan Vank refused to speak, so Tony spoke first when he came up. You don't deserve to mention this name. Your family is thieves and thieves. Everything you have now should belong to the Vank family. Ivan Vank said to Tony with a calm expression. It seems that the attack on Tony failed, and he does not feel at all unwilling to deal with the situation of being a prisoner. It was your father who wanted to use this thing to make money. He wanted to make it into a weapon. My father stopped him. It was Anton Vank who made the mistake. Tony retorted, and neither of them spoke after that. Just looking at each other, they both knew in their hearts that this was not a question of right or wrong at all, it was meaningless. After a while, Ivan Vank suddenly opened his mouth and said this sentence. You lost, Stark. You lost from the beginning. Ha 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 ha. Ivan Vanko laughed so hard that he couldn't breathe, and the handcuffs on his hands rattled on the bed frame. Qin Xiao and Tony looked at each other, and Qin Xiao scratched his head in embarrassment. Is there something wrong with your brain? I'm using a PVC pipe. Although it's a bit strong, it's not like that. Did Thor slap me stupidly? Hey! What are you laughing at? Ivan Vank laughed so hard that he was out of breath and said to Qin Xiao. You should ask Stark how painful it would be to die from palladium poisoning, ha ha ha. Palladium poisoning. Qin Xiao pretended to be surprised and looked at Tony, his face full of worry from his friend. Ivan Vanko laughed even louder. Ha! It seems like your friend doesn't know about this yet. You should tell him about the adverse side effects of having a reactor in your body. Oh! Damn! Tony, is this all true? Why didn't you tell me earlier? Let's work out a solution together. What should we do now? Let's go to the doctor together. There will definitely be a solution, right? Oh! I God! Qin Xiao really cooperated with Ivan Vank, but it was a pity that his performance was too exaggerated. Tony originally wanted to cooperate, but he couldn't help it anymore and asked Qin Xiao to push him away. Your performance is too exaggerated. The performance style of the Broadway Opera House 100 years ago was more natural than yours. It's so disgusting. Oh, is there? No, that's not true. I also read the book An Actor's Self-Cultivation. I think I performed pretty well just now. What do you think, Ivan? Qin Xiao asked Ivan Vank with a mean smile. Chapter 76 Illuminati. When Qin Xiao and Tony walked out of the ward, Ivan Vank's curses in Russian and English came from inside. The police outside thought Qin Xiao and Tony had done something to the prisoner, and they looked nervous. In fact, what made Ivan Vank most uncomfortable was not that Tony escaped palladium poisoning in the end, but when Tony showed off his new arc reactor and told its origins. Ivan Vanko felt that his father had truly lost to Howard Stark, which was the hardest thing for him to accept. In fact, no matter how big or small the contribution to a matter is, the person who is driven away will always feel that it is all his own contribution and will describe the person who drove him away as useless. Ivan Vank has believed since he was a child that Howard Stark was just a businessman seeking fame and reputation, not a scientist at all. All his achievements came from his father and other scientists. So when he learned that Tony Stark's father had invented a new element decades ago and greatly improved the power of the arc reactor, it was just that it was limited by the technology at the time and could not be manufactured. He couldn't accept it. Tony, this guy is now a living arc reactor. I don't know how many people are staring at him. The stick in your hand is about to be taken by others. Qin Xiao walked out of the hospital and said quietly to Tony. Qin Xiao said these words after some inner struggle. From the beginning, Qin Xiao felt that his greatest advantage was his omniscience and omnipotence. Although he had seen Loki's trailer before traveling through time and knew about the existence of the Time Variation Administration, he always believed that there was a system in place to prevent him from being discovered by them. But what Gu Yi said changed Qin Xiao's mind. He still won't think about how to change the plot, but he won't follow the plot honestly either. It's up to your own heart. Since the butterfly wings are already flapping no matter what, then flap them more naturally and freely. So when Ivan Vank was left in the hospital, Qin Xiao knew that if he followed the original plot, he would still be rescued by Justin Hammer. Of course Qin Xiao didn't care if there was another fight in the end, but he chose to stand as a friend and gave Tony a little warning. After all, Ivan Vanko was mainly targeting Tony Stark. Inform Nick Fury and let him solve it. The two of them stood on the beach in front of the hospital. Tony thought about it for a long time and asked tentatively. To be honest, I absolutely trust Nick Fury when it comes to protecting the world, but don't forget, Tony, behind him is the World Security Council, which is full of politicians from various governments. You know how eager the US government is to get your armor. Regarding this issue, the two discussed this issue when they first went to the Middle East. At that time, they were thinking of forming a secret organization that would be independent of S.H.I.E.L.D. and the Avengers in the future. It is used to solve some problems that are hindered in certain places. At a large scale, it can protect the world more unfettered, and at a smaller scale, it can protect the world. The last time they killed the Ten Rings gang in the Middle East, and Qin Xiao's solo trip to Mexico to uproot the drug lords were among them. Of course, Qin Xiao went there mostly for other people's money. Actually, I even thought of a name and made a mobile app. Tony opened the desktop of his mobile phone, and there was an app called the Illuminati on it. I don't know when Marvel will fill in this Easter egg for Iron Man 2. After all, Iron Man is dead. You can fill it in yourself, but the members must be different from those in the comics. After all, this is a movie universe. Oh. Qin Xiao looked at Tony's mobile phone with interest. I haven't fully developed it yet. It's actually similar to a chat and task sharing software. It detects crises, uploads tasks, and solves them nearby. Of course, it's mainly for confidential communication. Before going to the Middle East, it can be said that Qin Xiao planted a seed in advance for the future independence of the Avengers. But after going to the Middle East and seeing the massacre, Qin Xiao's mind changed slightly. He really felt that some organizations and people should be dealt with directly in extreme ways. After meeting Gu Yi, Qin Xiao had more ideas. But these are not important now. What is important is that Tony and the two have reached an agreement. Now I can fill in the name Ivan Vanko. Tony said as he opened the app on his phone. You can just put a cross on his name and there will be no tomorrow for him. Qin Xiao turned his head and glanced at the hospital and said. Boom. As soon as he finished speaking, a huge explosion occurred in the hospital opposite. The power of the explosion was not only to blow up a hospital dozens of stories high in the middle. The power of the shock wave swept across the entire street. Qin Xiao had sharp eyes and quick hands, and turned around to protect Tony. It blocked a large amount of steel, concrete, and even many messy things in the shock wave that would pose a fatal danger to ordinary people. All the debris from the explosion was blocked, but the shock wave still pushed the two people who were caught off guard into the sea. Puff! Qin Xiao pulled Tony, and they both emerged from the water and spit out a mouthful of sea water. The entire hospital was completely destroyed by the bomb, falling sideways and hitting another building nearby. Dust filled the streets, vehicle sirens, and cries for help from the ruins. Save people first. Tony glanced at the hospital with complicated eyes. This Iron Man with a strong sense of responsibility blamed himself for everything. Qin Xiao glanced at him, said nothing, swam to the front of the car they drove and was slowly sinking into the water, punched into the trunk, and pulled Tony's Mark V out. With the built-in scanning function of Tony's steel armor and Qin Xiao's inhuman strength, the two of them cooperated with the government officials who arrived later and rescued all the people trapped below one by one. Not counting minor injuries, 52 people were seriously injured and 37 died. Among them was a pregnant woman and 5 children. One is missing. Tony had a gloomy face and gave Qin Xiao a few figures. Qin Xiao's face didn't look very good either. This kind of thing was just a number in the news. But now that you are optimistic about those dead lives, especially if there are children inside, it is definitely an impact that makes people's blood surge. Ivan Vanko. Qin Xiao said the name without thinking. If only one person was missing, it could only be him. Chapter 77 The Mastermind Behind the Scenes. There is nothing unusual about Justin Hammer, whether it is in terms of personnel contacts or his funds coming in and out. Qin, your guess is correct. This matter has nothing to do with Hammer. Okay. I get it, it looks like Justin Hammer doesn't need to pay attention anymore. All the agents in France have been dispatched. If they take people out of France, we will receive the news immediately. The enemy this time is very professional and fierce. They will not leave any room for action. Please be careful. You too, finish the mission and go back quickly. See you in New York. See you in New York. Qin Xiao ended the call with Black Widow. The noise made this time was so big that he and Tony speculated that it was not Justin Hammer. However, Qin Xiao still asked Black Widow to check, and sure enough, Hammer's side everything is normal. Who is he? Qin Xiao frowned. At this time, there was a sudden knock on the door, and Qin Xiao stood up and opened the door. Tony went straight in and poured a large glass of water and drank it in one gulp. Then he exhaled and said. A policeman woke up and said there were 5 intruders, 3 white men, one of whom was a woman, 1 black man, and 1 black man. They were very fast and incredibly powerful. He fired 4 shots without even hitting them. From his description, it sounds like the person they are facing looks a lot like you. 5 super soldiers, Qin, do you remember what happened in Mexico last time? The man with the metal arm, I suspect they are all together, a powerful hidden organization. They have drug dealers, super soldiers, and maybe a powerful team of scientists. When Tony first said that the policeman said there were 5 people, Qin Xiao felt familiar. Now that Bucky was mentioned, Qin Xiao was ready to remember it. 5 super soldiers, Hydra, that base in Siberia. They activated 5 super soldiers in Siberia and didn't send Bucky to come forward. Could it be that Alexander Pierce wasn't responsible? Just like the name Hydra, the organization Hydra has many branches. Alexander Pierce, the former director of SHIELD, is just the leader of one. Qin Xiao remembers that he used the Mind Stone to create the Scarlet Witch and Baron Quicksilver Steeple, who have been here in Europe for a long time. Could it be him? Qin Xiao was confused. No matter how high his combat power was now, it would be of no help in facing this situation. Although you know a lot of the plot from watching the movie, you have no idea where these Hydra bases are hidden. Let alone find them. Washington, World Security Council. Alexander Pierce's office. Francis, that son of a bitch, who let him secretly activate the base in Siberia, that is one of our trump cards, damn bastard. Now the whole of Europe is a SHIELD agent, he will kill us, you better be careful too. Steeple. Alexander Pierce was surprisingly angry, completely lacking his usual calm and steady image. Don't worry, my old friend, you are the boss of the World Security Council, and most of the SHIELD agents are your people. What do I have to be afraid of? Baron Stekel's voice sounded quite calm. In fact, thinking about it, most of the biggest threats to SHIELD are their people, and there are no organizations like the Avengers watching them. At this moment, Hydra has no natural enemies. Do you think Nick Fury is a fool? I know him. He is not that easy to fool. I don't even know what other cards he has. We agreed last time about the Insight plan. This is the most important thing at the moment. Once we are exposed now, we will be attacked by the whole world. When that time comes, I can only be my chairman with peace of mind, and slowly wait for the opportunity to come in the future. Do you understand? We have been waiting for so many years, and finally we have a chance to fulfill our ideals. We can't be exposed at this time. Perhaps Alexander Pierce's pounding on the table and his reasoning somewhat impressed Baron Stekel. He also started to speak more seriously, not in a nonchalant tone. I understand the seriousness of the matter, the arc reactor. To be honest, it is really tempting. I have been tempted, but now is really not the time. I will let all my men lurk and not provoke people from SHIELD. And do our best to find that Guy Francis, settle this matter, and ensure our safety. Baron Stekel's assurance made Alexander Pierce's mood stabilize a lot, and he took a deep breath and said, "If he is exposed, I will kill him as soon as possible. For everyone's safety and the glory of Hydra, long live Hydra! Long live Hydra!" New York, a golf course. Justin Hammer was standing on the grass sticking his butt out and taking an angry swing. He was extremely depressed when Ivan Vanko, a duck with a big mouth, ran away. In particular, he also managed people in the police station and prison in advance, and spent a lot of favors and money on this. I want to get Ivan Vank out as soon as he is imprisoned. In the end, the bamboo basket was empty. Relax, Justin. Golf is an elegant sport. You can't think of him as Tony Stark's head. Sometimes, if you use too much strength, you won't reach your destination. A middle-aged man slowly walked towards Justin Hammer. Senator Stern, I remember that a week ago you gritted your teeth and asked me to speed up the development of the armor. Why do you look so calm now? Justin Hammer was in a bad mood, and he no longer had a good tone towards the senator who had cooperated with him a lot. I have learned a truth in the Senate for so many years. The world now is a world of win-win cooperation. For example, you and I, the same goes for the war armor project. Anger cannot solve any problems. Let me introduce you to a friend, France Mr. Subri. Senator Stern took a step to the side, revealing the person behind him. This is a middle-aged man who looks to be in his 50s. He is well maintained and his hair is meticulously taken care of. Francis is one of the purest nobles in Europe. He has unimaginable potential power in Europe, including stocks, political elections, and large-scale energy projects. As long as you need him, he has a way, including of course rescuing a man in Monaco. Genius from Siberia. Senator Stern grinned, showing his little yellow teeth. I'm getting home late, so I'll finish a chapter first and wait for me to go have a meal. There's another chapter that should be ready before 12 o'clock. If you go to bed early, don't wait. Let's read it together tomorrow. Chapter 78 Cooperation. Europeans, especially those from the upper class, pay attention to the purity of blood. Justin Hammer knows that many old-school European nobles like to hide in their castles and follow the oldest etiquette. They looked down on those new nobles with impure blood, and even the Queen of England was among them. Many modern literary works and movies about vampires use these antiques as their character settings. It is a group of people who control a large amount of resources in Europe. But Justin Hammer doesn't care about this. He is an American, and Americans are practical and realistic. Bloodline be damned, but Ivan Vanko is something Justin Hammer can never give up. The miniature arc reactor, this is his only chance to stand on Tony Stark's head. He put down his golf club, bowed slightly, and greeted this European antique with perfect etiquette. "You know, our project has been started for a long time. We have the best weapons and equipment, sensor systems, etc. in the world. The only thing missing is the small night light on Stark's chest." Senator Stern raised a finger and tapped his chest, making a joke that he thought was humorous. Then he pulled Justin Hammer and said, "Francis is very interested in the armor. Of course, he has no ambitions for orders from the Ministry of Defense. He just wants some finished armor to arm his bodyguards. But there are many opportunities for cooperation in the future, such as new energy. If you are interested, you know that aristocrats like them don't like to stand in front of the stage, as that would look inelegant." Of course Justin Hammer is interested. The application prospects of the micro-arc reactor are so great that just doing military industry would be too disappointing for this era-changing invention. Immediately under the auspices of Senator Stern, the two began a passionate exchange. Subsequent cooperation will be carried out slowly in the future. Today, Francis people will bring Yvonne Vank into Hammer Industries. Of course, it is impossible to share the technology of the arc reactor. Francis people will keep an eye on the scene to prevent Justin Hammer from taking the technology of the reactor from Yvonne Vanko. After this incident, Francis will invest in a new energy company in the United States, led by Justin Hammer, to build the largest new energy company in the world. These conditions were unacceptable to Hammer. After chatting, he left in a hurry. He wanted to make preliminary preparations for the arrival of Yvonne Vank. Watching Justin Hammer leave in a hurry, Francis said to Senator Stern, "You have found a good chess piece. He is ambitious, but not very smart. Letting him stand in front of the stage is a good choice. From now on, I will rely on you to take care of me here." Stern laughed loudly and said, "Pierce is looking for you all over the world. If he knew that you were hiding under his nose, he would probably be so angry that he would jump out of the office." Francis also laughed, "Nothing can happen to him now. The Insight project depends on him to promote it. Put a gun on everyone's head in the world. Dr. Zola is really a genius. In this way, he can control the whole world. The plan of human life should be controlled by people like us, not conservative people like Pierce, right?" Francis' words made Stern smile so much that his back molars were exposed. Faced with the temptation to control the world, he chose to cooperate with Francis without hesitation and betrayed Alexander Pierce. But he didn't notice that Francis, who was also laughing behind him, looked at him no differently than he looked at an idiot. "The people from Hydra here have sent Yvonne Vank to Justin Hammer's company. Qin Xiao and Tony are still looking around in Monaco. Since the emergence of Yvonne Vanko, to be precise, it should have been since the second person who could create a micro-arc reactor came out. The pressure from the US government on Tony is increasing. At first, Tony chose not to hand over the technology, but he also said that no one would be able to build the arc reactor within a few years at least. This has slightly eased the attitude of the government and the military. At least being in the hands of Tony Stark is equivalent to being in the hands of the United States. Although the government didn't get it, at least Iron Man is an American, right? But now that a second one has appeared, especially since that person was rescued by someone with no influence, the government will not be so easy to fool. If this technology is obtained by the Russians, it means that the United States will be under the threat of fighting nations for many years to come. There is no political element here, it's just that in the world of movies, fighting nations are always evil. Tony Stark received several calls from Pepper Potts and Rhodes almost every day, conveying to him the pressure from different places. "Tony, this is not the way to go. What are you going to do?" Qin Xiao asked as he lay paralyzed on the sofa in the hotel. "In the past few days, I have been busy looking for clues and looking for Yvonne Vank. He has arranged for Jane, Thor, and Daisy to go back first. He and Tony were the only two people left in Monaco. I didn't know, but now I have a new idea." Tony just hung up on Rod. "Rod, he is from the military. I trust him. If I give him a suit of armor, it will not only prevent the government from entangled with me for the time being, but also ensure that the armor does not fall into the hands of others. The most important thing is, the Illuminati needs new members, and just the two of us are not enough. Now we can only rely on S.H.I.E.L.D. for intelligence. This is a good idea. Anyway, we are just looking around here. Why not go back together first? This way we will have more resources. Qin Xiao sat up from the sofa and said. Yes, that's what I thought too. Those people took Ivan Vank away. It's impossible to hide him all the time. The armor is their goal. I have asked Jarvis to pay attention to all kinds of valuables on the market. The whereabouts of metals, including the raw materials for making the arc reactor and the metals needed for the armor. Unless those people own various metal mines and have mature extraction and smelting technology, I will definitely find them as soon as they start making armors. Tony Stark said confidently. Chapter 79 Locking the Target. Since it is mass production, it is naturally impossible for Hammer's armor to use all precious gold and titanium alloys as raw materials like Tony. The metals used to make some common alloys are all available in the warehouse of Hammer Industries. But manufacturing a micro-arc reactor requires a large amount of palladium. Only 0.2 grams of the precious metal is used in a missile. He does not have a large inventory. What's more, although Ivan Vanko couldn't create new elements, in order to catch up with Tony Stark's reactor level as much as possible, he still adjusted the speed like in the movie. The arc reactor was upgraded, requiring more palladium. But the inventory at Hammer Industries is only enough to meet this year's weapons orders for the Department of Defense. As a result, Hammer began to purchase large amounts of palladium in the market as a small company under his private name. Although Hammer had been careful to purchase in batches through different companies under his name, Jarvis, who had been monitoring the market, discovered it immediately. Soon, the bosses behind these small companies were revealed. Then regarding Hammer Industries' purchases of palladium in the past 5 years, they have received weapons orders. As well as the palladium element needed for the orders that have been signed this year, as well as the possible order amount and palladium element required by the Ministry of Defense next year. A complete set of data was listed in front of Tony. Justin Hammer, is it really you? Tony once again opened the data that Jarvis sent to his phone yesterday and muttered, no matter how hard it looked, Justin Hammer didn't look like he had such courage. Hey! Fish finder, what do you think? Qin Xiao was standing on the floor-to-ceiling glass looking at the fish under the river. Originally, the base in New York was planned to be placed on a farm in the suburbs. Qin Xiao donated $1 billion to the Avengers project. With the idea that he would be the boss by joining the group with his own capital, he tortured Nick Fury to get his secret base under the river. In his words, this is what a secret organization base with $1 billion should look like. Yes, it was style. For this style, he often imitated Nick Fury and stood by the window with his hands behind his back, looking motionless at the fish outside. Therefore, Tony gave him the nickname of a fish finder. What do I think? I'm not Yuan Fang. Let's wait until Natasha comes back. She went to Hammer Industries for an interview today. Qin Xiao rubbed his eyes, returned to the table and sat down. Who is Yuan Fang? Tony pulled out a bag of potato chips from somewhere and asked while eating. The Chinese version of Watson has solved many big cases with the Chinese Sherlock Holmes. Speaking of Sherlock Holmes, Tony, I remembered that I had seen a movie. The guy who played the protagonist Sherlock Holmes in Detective Morlocks is similar to you. Very similar. Do you have any cousins who are actors in Hollywood? Speaking of Sherlock Holmes, Qin Xiao looked at Tony's face and suddenly said something malicious. No. Tony thought about it seriously and said. You really need to change your taste in movies. Movies like this that I haven't heard of must be a big mess. That's right. Especially the male lead, he is like a fool. I have never seen a worse actor. Qin Xiao said with a strange smile. Tony subconsciously felt that something was wrong, but he couldn't tell what was wrong. In the end, he could only say to Qin Xiao angrily, "You should go see a doctor. Don't face a group of people all day long. You'll have brain problems." Qin Xiao was about to speak back. The door to the base was opened. Natasha strode in wearing a red dress. Qin Xiao quickly stepped forward and pulled out a chair for Black Widow to sit down. He also thoughtfully poured a glass of water. After hanging out with Daisy in Monaco for a few days, he felt an inexplicable feeling of guilt when he saw the Black Widow. Look, God, how can there be such a beautiful woman? I bet $1 that bastard Justin Hammer wants to keep her as his personal secretary. Black Widow is an agent, especially after what happened in Monaco. Although I didn't know that Qin Xiao was traveling rapidly on the plane, I definitely knew that he was following a woman in Monaco. But Black Widow did not delve into this matter. She just rolled her eyes at Qin Xiao, sat down and took a sip of water. Actually, I didn't see Hammer, but I still found a lot of things after spending the whole morning in their company today. Tony, do you have the floor plan of the Hammer building on your computer? Tony quickly tapped the keyboard a few times to turn the screen around. Here. Black Widow pointed to several locations on the floor plan. These underground parts were originally used as the research base for this armor development project with the military. Hammer Industries has invested a large number of scientists and resources here. But a few days ago, he suddenly and temporarily dismissed all personnel here. All scientific researchers, including security guards, were evacuated. This place became a restricted area for Hammer Industries. I used 2 cups of good coffee to sneak into the building's surveillance room, and found that all the surveillance videos of all the entrances and exits of the Underground Research Institute, the elevators, and even the parking lot that afternoon had been deleted. Based on the list of palladium purchasing companies discovered by Jarvis, I am sure that he is making the arc reactor, or that Yvonne Vank is in the Hammer building. Unfortunately, if you want to go there now, you must be special. Pass, no one knows who has that authority except Justin Hammer. Black Widow told all of today's gains in one breath, almost making a final decision. Yvonne Vanko is in the Hammer building. Then what are you waiting for now? You are the most powerful intelligence agency in the world, with contacts, agents, combat teams, special forces, etc. Conduct a surprise inspection there immediately, and everyone will be caught. Tony said, spreading his hands. Black Widow rolled her eyes helplessly. That is the experimental base for military cooperation projects. You should understand what this means better than anyone else. Otherwise, how about you convince more than 2/3 of the members of the Senate? What should I do? How about I put on my armor and rush in directly? Anyway, it's already locked, so why bother with so much detail? As long as I'm sure Yvonne Vank is here, it'll be easy. It's not impossible. Black Widow is not a pedantic person, but after speaking, she still rejected the plan. But we have some smarter ways that can achieve the same effect. Any solution? Qin Xiao and Tony asked in unison. Then the 2 superheroes need to be humble and perform a large-scale action scene. Black Widow said with a smile. Chapter 80 Embarrassing Acting. Scene, the rooftop of a building 30 meters east of the Hammer building in Manhattan. Starring, Qin Xiao, Tony Stark. Director, Natasha Romanoff. Screenwriter, Natasha Romanoff, Qin Xiao, Tony Stark. I just received a call from Rhodes. Hammer is currently installing weapons on Rhodes' new armor at the Air Force Base. As soon as we discover Yvonne Vanko, Rhodes will immediately control him. When Qin Xiao and Tony first came back, Tony talked to Rhodes for a long time. The result was that Rhodes got a set of armor on behalf of the military, and the Illuminati added a war machine to their list. Everything is ready, where are you two? Are you ready, heroes? Black Widow's voice came faintly from the headphones. Certainly. Tony replied very confidently. Qin Xiao turned his head and looked behind him, nodded and said, "Bring it on." Action! Black Widow tapped her hand on the table and hit the board. Bang! As soon as Black Widow finished speaking, the propellers on Tony's armor were activated at full speed, directly pressing against Qin Xiao's abdomen, smashing the guardrail of the rooftop alive, and rushing out of the air. "Tony, you're an asshole, I'm not ready yet." Qin Xiao roared loudly at Tony in mid-air. "The director has already shouted, you have to learn what it means to be professional, my friend, we are enemies now." As Tony spoke, he pulled one of Qin Xiao's arms, turned around in the air, used power to convert kinetic energy, and directly threw Qin Xiao on his back and slammed him to the ground. Boom! The ground at the entrance of the hammer building was hit so hard that several cracks were visible to the naked eye. "Hey! Didn't it hit it?" Tony's armor appeared above Qin Xiao's head, dragging its tail flames. A dazzling white light flashed from the thrusters of both hands. 2 laser cannons aimed at Qin Xiao and blasted him head-on. "Damn it, Tony, you bastard, this isn't in the script." Qin Xiao did not dare to shout loudly, so he could only mutter in a low voice, turned over to avoid the laser cannon, and ran towards the hammer building. Without saying a word, Tony manipulated the armor and directly smashed the glass of the door and rushed in. As soon as the talent entered, the wind howled from the side, and a coffee table was grabbed by Qin Xiao with both hands, and he patted it sideways towards Tony. Wow! The glass shattered all over the floor, but Tony was also hit hard against the wall on the side. Additional scenes, you learn so quickly. Tony's muttering voice came from the earphones. Immediately, Tony stood up using the armor and pointed at Qin Xiao with his right hand. A line of dialogue appeared on the screen in the armor's mask. Tony glanced at it and read it crumpledly. "Qin, I regard you as my most trusted friend, but you are actually talking about business cooperation with that clown Justin Hammer. Do you know that what I hate the most is this pretentious bastard?" Behind this line is the feeling of being betrayed by a friend, sad and angry, with a slightly angry tone and a sense of powerlessness. There was such a long paragraph of annotations, but the lines turned out to be like plain water for Tony to read. Black Widow's sigh came from the earphones. "Look at Qin Xiao again." Seeing Tony standing there and pointing at him, he threw away the coffee table with only one shelf left with a bang. "It's just a business cooperation, it has nothing to do with personal feelings, and we haven't officially signed a contract yet. This is the reason why you threw me down from a high altitude. I really want to kick me hard." Ah! While Qin Xiao was talking, a girl who seemed to be working at the front desk on the first floor ran out between the two of them, holding her head and screaming, stepping on broken glass. "Kick your ass hard, Tony." When the girl ran over, Qin Xiao made up his lines. Black Widow, who was hacking into Hammer Company's surveillance system at the base, looked at the screen and covered her face helplessly. "Kick my ass? I'm Iron Man. Do you think my suit is as easy to beat as the crap Hammer makes?" Tony finished his lines dryly again. Then, tick-tock. The sound of the clock on the wall echoed between the two of them. A gust of wind blew up several documents and fluttered between the two of them. "It seems like it's your turn." Tony's voice rang in the headphones. "You changed the lines, Tony. I don't know how to answer it. The last line you just said was added by yourself." Qin Xiao whispered into the earphones. "Gentlemen, our lines are to make others feel that the fight between you two is more realistic. Now everyone on the first floor has fled. Stop acting and just force your way in." Black Widow gritted her teeth and said, she wanted to give herself a slap in the face. Letting these two people act was the most failed decision in her agent career. It's such a shame. In the Underground Research Institute, the vibrations coming from above put the people below immediately on alert. The 5 super soldiers left only one woman to watch the work of Ivan Vanko. The remaining 4 people joined a group of guards hired by Hammer from outside and stared at the elevator entrance. What they didn't notice was that as soon as they left, Ivan Vank glanced at the female super soldier at the door with a smile, and the computer quickly switched to an interface. His hands began to type quickly on the keyboard. Elevator entrance. There was a loud bang and the elevator crashed down at an abnormal speed. A burst of dust spewed out of the smashed elevator door. The guards all raised their firearms and pointed them at the elevator entrance. Bang! With a loud noise, the elevator door was violently smashed open, and a golden red figure rushed into the crowd against the elevator door. Da-da-da-da-da. A group of guards subconsciously pulled the trigger, but unfortunately they were knocked away by the impact of Tony's armor and the impact of the elevator door within a few shots. Before he could react, the ceiling roared again. Qin Xiao fell from the sky, and the 2 of them were like wolves among sheep. They collided back and forth several times, knocking the guards into pieces and lying on the ground for a while, unable to get up. There are hundreds of sets of already formed armors densely packed around the research institute below. Tony knew that these should be the armors jointly developed by Justin Hammer and the military. He even had detailed information on these armors. As a single soldier combat armor, it is actually pretty good in all aspects, except that it has no energy and can only charge and perform some simple actions. But some of the armors actually had a faint blue light on their chests. Arc reactor. Tony and Qin Xiao looked at each other. Sure enough, we found the right place. The 2 of them were trying to look inside for Ivan Vank. The figure flashed, and 4 strong men with expressionless faces and dead eyes, wearing combat boots, camouflage pants, and only a vest appeared in front of the 2 people. Super Soldier. End of the chapter. Like and subscribe for more videos like this.